What's up, Overwatchers? This is Matcham here, doing the introduction for this week's Cow Open. For those of you guys that don't know, this is a semi-pro event where we're going to be getting everybody together from the competitive Overwatch Discord. I'm Matcham. With me, I've got Ruik this week. And we're going to be doing the caster desk. So we're going to start getting underway here in just a few minutes. For everybody that does not know, we're also going to be having arms race, and that's got to be Kane that are going to be covering our in-game. So, to get us up and going, I think that the first match that we're going to be watching this week is going to be Literal Meme Team and Legends in the Making. For those of you guys that don't know, Literal Meme Team is one of our Minutemen, a whole group of our Minutemen competitors. Several of our players have gotten together from the Minutemen tournament and decided to make a team this week. Rook, you played a Minutemen a couple of times. What do you think about this?
I have. I've played Minutemen quite a few times, and Minutemen is really the place where random people come together and forge bonds that were not previously forged and fight through to the end. It's basically a giant chaos pit where the winner comes out on top.
Mm-hmm. It's more of a solo queue-esque style environment, and it's fully opened up. So if anybody wants to join in, every Monday was whenever we do our registration. So free to join, hop in, get involved. It's a real fun way to meet a whole bunch of new players and friends to play with, or maybe even win some tournaments. Always recommended. But with that said, we're also going to be watching Legends in the Making, which I'm kind of excited to follow in on. Right now we have the guys over at Random CS are getting everything put together for us. For you guys that don't know, Random CS is one of our sponsors. They help us get everything together for all the events, so make sure you give them some love if you see them followers. We appreciate it. But let's see. We've got that going on, and we've got to do the quick sellout. Remember, guys, Cow Open is specifically financed by you guys, the viewers. So make sure you do the !Matcherino. Hit up the use the code for which is Cow10, Cow10 right now, and you guys can hop in, do a free $1 donation. Come on, make sure that you get in on that. You're enjoying this. Make sure the players get some love out of it. They would appreciate it. We always appreciate it too. And in addition to that, you guys will also get points if you guys haven't been a part of the Matcherino points. The way it works is every minute that you're watching our stream, you're going to get 1 point. Whenever you do a donation, you get 5 times the points that you're accumulating. What you do with these points is you can use them to barter and bet on certain Cow League events, or I guess activities is a better way to describe it. Right now, since we're at $151 right now, we already have unlocked access to the Cow Tipper channel if you guys want. Unlocked a shout out from the casters, so me or Rook will be talking about you. And right now we have the ability to name some of our Minutemen team names as available. Yeah, Minutemen team names are solid. If you guys want to hop in on that, dude, they come up with some good ones. Like, what are some of your favorite ones, Ruik?
Some good stuff. One of my favorite ones was Harambe is Bay. I liked that one a lot. Literal Meme Team was in the Minutemen, and I thought that was pretty good, along with Gengu, or Genju, which was a little play on words they had, in the last tournament. Those ones are at the top of my head, but I mean, there's just so many good ones.
So, what do we got? What do you think that we're going to expect from this event tonight? I mean, what are you thinking map-wise? What are you thinking player-wise? We're in the amateur bracket, so it could be anything.
Right. So, yesterday we saw a lot of the same maps, mostly Dorado and can't remember the name of the second map off the top of my head. Hollywood. We saw a lot of Dorado and Hollywood, and it was predominantly that. What I'm really hoping to see is, a little bit of a difference. I want to see some overtimes too. I didn't get to see a lot of overtimes. So with these teams against each other here, I really hope that we get more overtimes just from the fact that it's going to be more even. There's going to be more communication on both sides. So hopefully it's going to be some intense fights going on, which is what I'm really excited for.
I just hope that, I think last week we managed to break the Dorado curse that had been running through all the Cow events for a while, where everybody was having trouble getting past for first point on Dorado. But I think last night you had a couple people make it through whenever you guys were doing Minutemen, right?
There was a predominance of most of the time they made it past the first capture point, and they moved all the way up until almost the second capture point, and then they kept getting stuck under that overpass area where you had the 2 roofs that you could stand on top of and the short respawn for the defending team. So, I think the offense teams it's a little bit easier for uncoordinated groups to attack than to defend. So I think that may have been part of it. But I feel like the Open's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be, coordinated teams attacking and defending. So I feel like for the most part, it might come back to that first point battle that you've seen before.
See, I don't know whenever I go back and forth on it. It's like, I love it whenever we see a hold on Dorado because it shows a strength of a team on a lot of times. It lets you know that this is a team that's going to be enjoyable to follow for a bit. On the flip side of it, it always feels like I'm always left wanting. I always want more Overwatch. I want to watch more Overwatch. I want to see a whole bunch of cool plays. And Dorado is like the dream killer whenever it comes to that because it always seems to end sooner than I want it to.
Right. Although Hollywood, out of all the maps that are played a lot, I really like Hollywood because it has a little bit of everything in there. It has those close-up battles. It has the long, drawn-out battles between the buildings as they move forwards. And the last push is also super cool to watch because it literally takes every last ounce of strength to get past a good defense on that last point on Hollywood. And it leads to some really awesome moments.
A lot of people always refer to it as like the Death Star run because the way it's just set up and you've got that path that's going right down it and there's like all the little nooks that people can hide in.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Like I would love to see. I know we don't ever see any of the new Bonnie. That seems to be very rare in our games. I've noticed. I mean, the first point is really peculiar anyway. I can see why a lot of teams step away from it. But I would imagine that we're definitely going to see a lot of King's Row and most likely a lot of Genji. Keep in mind, we're playing on live. We're not playing on PTR, everybody that's watching. So no Genji is RIP yet. We're still playing with fully functional murder your team Genji right now.
Yep. No, he still has his legs.
Yep. And I'm imagining that we're, let's see. I'm hoping that we'll see some Ana. It seems like a lot of people are starting to get a feel for Ana in the amateur scene and starting to figure out ways to use her. And personally, she's one of my favorite to watch because there's just her counterplay ability is just so ridiculously high with the Trank Dart, and then naturally her ultimate just makes anybody mega strong. But I've seen a couple of Cow Open events where we've managed to get on and in, and we've had some phenomenally cool shutdown, like just kill a play of the game moment with the Trank Dart, and I'm hoping we might see some high level Ana play tonight.
I really enjoy watching an Ana too because of those moments that the plays kind of connect together, and she uses her ult on a Reinhardt. Reinhardt goes ham. The healers do their job. They use their ultimates correctly, and it can really pull an attack together. And there's not many Anas that can do that. And there's not many Reinhardts that can take an ult the way that other Reinhardts can. So it really pulls together a good team when they can use both the Ana and the Reinhardt effectively. Especially with only having one strong healer, when a lot of the times Ana is a partial DPS based on her, her sleep dart and her poison dart. So it's a mind game for Ana to play because you're always trying to focus on doing damage because you feel like you have that possibility of doing a lot of work. But on the other side, you're a healer and you need to focus on that.
Yeah, because Ana has some of the highest HPS inside of Overwatch right now. I know everybody always thinks about Zenyatta and Mercy, but if you just stand behind somebody and just start spraying them with bullets whenever they're going down, and especially if you hit them with a healing grenade, it's just her healing potential skyrockets. But I'm praying that maybe, like, I'm not gonna lie, one of my favorite reasons to watch anime games is I love the Trank Dart and then like the complete disrespect where somebody like walks up and then just like shoots some grenades, shoots them again, and then just like murders somebody that's laying on the ground. I don't know why, but I guess maybe I've been watching Touch Too Much Moon Moon, but I love it whenever I see it. It makes me happy.
It's even better when you see a Genji just walk over and use the Mata Mata sound quote.
Oh, it's always Mata Mata or it's Yosh. Yosh. All right, so right now everybody is the two teams that we have are starting to get together and figure out what our maps are going to be. For everybody, just to give you an idea of how the tournament's going to work, right now we're in the group stages. So we're going to be doing best of ones, and we're going to be playing on the competitive rule set. Competitive rule set is not stopwatch. What it is we go to full completion for each map. And if we end up with both teams, if we're playing play load and both teams manage to complete, then we move to a best of one King of the Hill map. And we let the coin flip occur, and whichever team wins the attack gets to choose the map. So this is going to be a lot closer to how you would say Season 2. No stopwatch involved. It's going to be fairly similar to that. So I guess that leads into the question, Season 2 changes. What you got to say on those, Roy?
Oh, Season 2 changes. I've already heard from a lot of, really competitive players that the new time bank system is a lot more fun when it comes to, those last minute efforts that win games. And, there's going to be a lot of meta changes, with Mercy coming back into play, maybe Genji not being so much played anymore, Hanzo shooting, massive arrows at high speeds.
The tree trunks.
Right, the tree trunk arrows. So I feel like shaking up the meta is going to feel good. A lot of people hate it, a lot of people love it, but all in all, it's good for the game, especially because it buffers things out.
Well, I mean, and it adds so much variance. The dream is to start getting more than just 6 active, strong champions in at a time, so we can start getting some rotations, especially once we start looking at the amateur and pro level play. That's why I'm really excited to see the Zenyatta drop down, the Discord drop down from 50 to 30%. So maybe we'll see Pharah re-enter. Once Pharah comes back in, naturally we've got Mercy that's going to come back in, because anytime Pharah's there, Mercy's got the escape out.
Right, you got the pharmacy.
Oh, yeah. I'm kind of curious as to where this is going to put Zenyatta, if he's going to be strong enough to stay in. I mean, the health was nice bonus, but with the Discord changes, I mean, that's his thing, and he still has a lot of damage output, and I know they're giving him a little bit more, but I don't know if you would favor him over the Mercy anymore, or potentially over the Ana. I get the feeling like there's going to be, we might end up going back to the Lucio Mercy, but we also might end up with, Zenyatta Mercy. It seems like we're going to get some more variance in support, which means we're going to have complete variance in how the teams are going to play, which I'm hoping for.
Right. I think the big difference between Zenyatta and Mercy right now is, Zenyatta has his healing orb and his Discord, but he does more damage himself with the Discord on than someone else does, as it was previous. And by that change, he now is more of a self-centered hero where he throws heals out and he throws Discords out, but he also is basically a damage dealer from the healer side and from the support perspective. Whereas Mercy, you have to give a lot more trust to your team. You have to, you're healing, sometimes you're a pocket healer, sometimes you heal around, the best Mercies somehow keep their whole team healed from across the map. But they also give their damage to the hero they're locked on at the moment. And so that's trusting that hero to do the damage for you, whereas Zenyatta, you're kind of doing it yourself. So I think as teams become more competitive, we're going to see more Mercies in the sense that they're going to be trusting their teams, whereas Zenyatta is going to be used more at the lower level where people want to feel like they're doing more.
Yeah, and I can see that. I'm just still torn on whether or not Mercy's res is going to stay the key factor for her anymore. More people are going to start playing more aggressive. I mean, with the Lucio nerfs where they can't move as fast, it's going to be peculiar because you're not going to have as much go-in potential, especially with the nerfs to Genji. So are we going to move? I'm almost curious if we're going to move more back to that slow-moving death ball style meta where everybody just clumps together, and then you have the Pharah up top trying to push everybody into the fight, and then just a murder fest if somebody steps around the wrong corner, or if maybe Tracer will take Genji's spot, and we'll still keep the flank fast-paced team comps. I don't know.
Yeah, what I really want to see eventually out of Overwatch is instead of these metas where everybody's clumped up or it's one big push that's kind of like a chaos push, I want to see really intricate strats that players can come from multiple directions and really do things that we haven't seen yet. Really strategic minds can take control of, whereas rather than these last moment calls where they push in as this giant chaos ball because they either picked one off or they see a pick that they can get, or they know that some abilities are on cooldown.
Well, maybe that might be solving that with maps. I've always gotten the feeling that in this style of game, the more variance that you have in maps seems to unlock new strategies. Like we've got the Aishimol that's coming out it's going to have all the vertical nature to it. It's going to have that one payload location as you're pushing across. It's just going to be over open air. So mainly if you guys haven't watched the video Twitch chat, there's a path for the payload where you're essentially going to have the battering ram move across it, and there's going to be nothing on the sides of it. So a good Lucio boop or a Pharah boop can essentially team kill. And I think that with the variance and verticality and events like that, we're going to see some more nuanced changes. Like we're going to start seeing heroes that might appear just because of map selection, which is what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that like certain heroes start having strong placement inside of certain maps or certain styles of play. So
I can see that too. I mean, you know, new Eichenwald coming up. I can't wait to see more defensive heroes being used like Bastion and Torbjorn.
Oh, guys, here we go. We're getting ready to go into the game. It looks like everything's... So we're going to pass you over to That's Gotta Be Kane and Arms Race to get you underway. We'll see you guys after the match.
Welcome, Omnics and Oddities, to the Cow League Open number 10. I am Arms Race, and with me on the caster decks, I have That's Gotta Be Kane. Kane, how's it going today?
Oh, my man, Arms Race. I'm doing pretty good. You know what? This is pretty fun because generally, for those who do not know me, I generally am around for the Minutemen tourney. So being able to come around here for the Cow Open is just a new level of hype for me, and I am sure for the rest of the participants as well as viewers watching. So again, thank you so much for having me, and I'm ready to see some good Overwatch.
Yeah, happy to have you here. So just to break down the teams a little bit before we get started, on the blue side, we will have Literal Meme Team, which I'll probably just call Meme Team during the action. And we'll have Tanner on Lucio, Amag on Junkrat, Deep playing that Genji, Bryth on the Reinhardt, Attanius on Zarya, and Vapormaid on Zenyatta.
And it looks like on Legends in the Making, on the red team, we have Simba. Going ahead on the D.VA, we have MrWinsconsin playing the McCree. We have Gizmo on Lucio. Izzat's going to go ahead and play some of that Zenyatta. We have Ocman, undecided just yet, but looks like he's going to go ahead and play Reinhardt. And we have Bigall on the Genji as well. And so I'm actually, or rather DC Man, sorry, on the Reinhardt. Misread that for a second, but looks like we're gonna be starting here. Teams generally jockeying for position. You know, nothing too special right now. Literal Meme Team gonna start up on the balcony as they start to get ready. The payload gonna come around the red building right now, generally as we speak. Pretty easy stuff right now. It's gonna be interesting to see how each of the Genjis work as they try to get in some picks, hopefully get a few frags to level out the teams a bit right now. We have Deep going in, trying to get off some kills as he runs for the nearest health pack. And looks like we also have Bigall trying to get some, but it looks like neither of the Genjis are gonna pick up anything just yet. Things seem to be reset as they make their way towards the market into the death-defying Arch of Doom.
It's pretty typical for teams to try and hold that choke. The one disadvantage, however, being that you have no tanks down by the payload to contest its movement, so it is going to move through this choke point pretty quickly. And Literal Meme Team going to need to build up some ultimates here so they can get some area damage down on all the people gathered in the chokehold. Amag on Junkrat able to pick up a pick onto Bigall's Genji, and that's going to be pretty decent. Some peace of mind there for Meme Team as they don't have to worry about the Genji sneaking up on them. Meanwhile, Deep's actually going to bring out the Dragon Blade himself in the back lines here. Takes out MrWinsconsin on McCree. Tries to take out Simba as well, breaks the mech, but he isn't able to secure the kill as Bigall actually makes it back from that respawn and takes him out. Sound barrier comes out from Gizmo on the Lucio as DC Man charges forward. He's going to pick up 2 kills. Bigall whips out the Dragon Blade in the back. Earth Shatter comes down on both sides, but it really leaves Literal Meme Team exposed to this Dragon Blade. Tanner's going to have to retreat there as he's the only member left of his team, and Legends in the Making will secure this first point here.
Looks like they are definitely going to secure that first point. You know, it was really interesting if you want to go back when Deep went ahead and actually took out Bigall at first. Bigall was only around 50% of his ultimate, whereas Deep had already garnered a whole lot. He was able to go in first. I was going to say, you know, it was really a matter of which Genji was going to be able to pop ultimate first to really hopefully pick off some frags, but as we saw, Deep was only able to really kind of secure MrWinsconsin before Simba got popped out of the mech, but wasn't able to secure the final kill as Bigall went ahead and finished that off. And of course, that just opened up the whole new line for that fight, and as we were able to see, really nice execution, coming in from Legends in the Making, and now they're sitting pretty with about 3 ultimates ready for some clear-offs. However, they don't really have much initiation unless you want to consider Simba, which may or may not pick up any frags, though it may do some good to actually deter a lot of these people to allow the payload to keep going on. Right now, Attanius is sitting pretty, along with Vapormaid, which they have all the tools they need to engage. And here's going to happen right now. Simba's going to pop off, and it's going to take out Tanner, who, of course, did not have the sound barrier, so not much was going to be happening. Vapormaid, on the other hand, however, is going to pop his ultimate, the Tranquility, to try to keep his team alive, though Attanius, having popped the Tortoise, does get taken out. D.VA is going to return, popping the Dragon Blade and getting 2 kills off the MrWinsconsin and Izzat, which is going to only remain DC Man and Gizmo, but all of Team Legends in the Making is going to have to run back. Now, right now, Bigall, however, trying to pay off whatever he can to get any kills, but he only takes out Amag before getting taken out by Bryth. The Earth Shatter also follows up, and he's going to go ahead and secure the charge on DC Man, once again forcing Legends in the Making to have to regroup. And I would have to say that was a little more sporadic, a sporadic use of ults. We didn't really see a whole lot played off at once. We saw 2 here, 2 there, and then we saw a couple attempts to get a few cleanups toward the end, as we saw with DC Man, or rather Deep, as well as Bryth.
Kane, it was kind of like what you were talking about before. The success of these team fights really measured by the impact of both teams' Dragon Blades. Deep able to get a lot more kills than Bigall was before he fell with his Dragon Blade, and that really turned the tide there for literal meme team. Legends in the Making now going to try and approach from the upper level. Gizmo drops the sound barrier as the whole team breaches the back line here. DC Man charges in, lands a 3-man Earth Shatter. MrWinsconsin and Bigall are there to pick up the frags. Only one goes down right away. Meanwhile, literal meme team is on the front line here contesting this payload, and there's actually no one moving the payload while all of these kills go down. Literal meme team does manage to force off the Legends.
Not a whole lot of movement on the payload, and I'm believing that's because, again, I feel like we're watching these team fights go out in chunks. We haven't seen one full push come out right now from Legends in the Making, and I believe when it comes to the defense, you know, your whole point is to move this payload. You know, we're about 2.5 minutes in, they haven't yet to secure it, even though they've been very close, and even when you only have a few moving, you know, you can keep one of your tanks or at least one of your supports, especially given the fact, you know, you have your Zenyatta, you know, at least one person being on the payload while you're able to pop out these ults. But from what we've been seeing right now, it's really been just a whole lot going in the back, bit by bit. But MrWinsconsin and Legends in the Making are going to move in from the perch, from the garden, to try to get some kills, and they're able to get 2 off. Amag returning his Deadeye gets another. Deep pulls off a nice double kill, while Simba, with the explosion self-destruct, picks off 2 as well. Once again, bit by bit, ults are going off left and right, but not all simultaneously. But we are getting equal frags in at once. Attanius having popped the Tortoise, but gets taken out by Izzat, as Izzat actually picks up a double kill on both tanks. The Tortoise not really working out entirely in their favor, as Vapormaid now trying to move the payload by himself, pops a Tranquility to give his team a little bit of room right now, as literal meme team is looking like they're gonna keep hold of this payload right now from moving. However, it looks like they're gonna go start making it to that point if they cannot contest right now.
Yeah, Legends in the Making really need a team kill to secure this checkpoint. Bryth is going to take out DC Man though, so that's going to set them back quite a bit, as they are going to need full numbers unless they get a pretty significant pick here. Bigall does manage to take out Bryth, so that'll be significant, as there is no tank for the front line to contest this payload, and it is going to make it to the second checkpoint here. 2 minutes and 57 seconds here to make it all the way.
You're gonna have to say, you know, each team, or rather, Legends in the Making, they haven't been moving the payload as well as I believe they could have. However, I will say both Genjis have been doing really well in getting a lot of pickoffs during these downtimes. You know, each team fight, you know, I noticed each one gets at least about 2 frags or so popping their Dragon Blades. So we've definitely seen a lot happening in these last few fights.
Yeah, absolutely. Vapormaid gonna go in with the Transcendence just to try and contest this payload. He actually already lost both of his teammates, so nobody on the payload to heal, keep alive a bit longer. We're gonna have a Genji v Genji battle up on the second level here, but the payload is continuing to move. No member of meme team really feeling the ability to contest, but Tanner throws down the sound barrier countered by the other side. Amag tries to get the Deadeye off, but Simba actually knocks him off of the ledge. Now Bigall going ham with his Dragon Blade in the back line, able to pick up 2. But the rest of meme team tries to respond, pulling up to defend their back line. They're not going to be successful, as Bigall gets kill after kill. Deep, the only one left, as he finally gets taken out by the team, and I do believe there'll be... Oh, nope. Amag will manage to secure the contest there, but he's gonna get popped out of his mech very quickly. Massive Earth Shatter picks up 4 there, coming out of Burst Reinhardt. Graviton Surge goes down. Everyone's gathered together. Do they have the damage? They certainly do. And
they have a lot of damage right
there.
now. Oh my
goodness. Perfectly coordinated reclamation of the point there.
Just 4.35 meters away, just about a minute and 20 going left right now for Legends in the Making. Really great indoor phase right now, as we've been seeing a whole lot of power coming in from this server room. I will have to say, Legends in the Making, again, both of these Genjis are really doing well for their team. Really good group ups. We've seen a really nice self-destruct come from Simba, trying to go ahead and get a few clears, if anything, just to hold back the team for those few seconds, but that wasn't going to deter them. We saw Little Meme Team come out from the other entrance, which was probably the wisest thing they could have done, and right now, Bigall looks like he's going to go in. He's going all in right now, having taken 1 kill by taking out Vapormaid. Bryth, however, is going to return, taking out Bigall as MrWinsconsin moves in to take out Bryth. And here you have it, Izzat is going to go ahead and pop the Tranquility to try to secure his team the kill, but Simba's going to drop down to get the last few kills he can, and Deep, after getting a nice double, is going to get taken down. Gizmo getting on the payload, trying to keep it moving, staying out of harm's way. Vapormaid doing the same with Attanius, trying to do everything that they can to keep that payload from moving, stalling time. 15 seconds left on the clock. Literal Meme Team is starting to regroup, and it looks like they're actually going to push back. Gizmo is just dancing with all his might, DDR style, on the payload, but isn't gonna make it as Bryth starts to clean up heavily with the double kill. They clean out the point, and just like that, Literal Meme Team saves it. An amazing round 1, first start of the Cal Open arms race. What are you thinking, my man?
I honestly, Literal Meme Team put up a very resounding defense. You can really see how both teams' play is defined by their understanding of this Genji meta that they're existing in right now.
Definitely.
Both teams know how to respond to an ulting Genji. And honestly, I think what really ended up deciding this match was the teams, whether or not they knew how to respond when their own Genji was going in. We saw multiple times the attacking Genji whipping out his Dragon Blade on some crazy flank that no one had even really noticed, and it almost seemed like the rest of Legends in the Making didn't notice it, because you would see DC Man throwing down his Earth Shatter a little late, catching out 4 people, but by that time the Genji ult was already done. And so I think that just a little bit of coordination coming out from Legends, they might actually be able to hold it. It was pretty even the majority of the time, so if they are able to pull that out in the last minute, we could be seeing a much more even matchup as Literal Meme Team takes the attack here.
You know, it's very interesting you say that. I actually have to wholeheartedly agree. Like we saw both Genjis doing very well on attack. It was very rare that we saw either of them not pick up a frag on every single time they went out, if not double kill at the least. You know, Dragon Blades went out. I would have to say, you know, not a whole lot of coordination from both teams, like you were saying, to cooperate with both Genjis. At the same time, I think it's safe to say that we both saw that they both knew how to execute offensively with each Genji. However, when it came to the defense of the enemy Genji, like you were saying, each team seemed kind of ill-equipped to actually deal with the other. That's why we saw so many kills and so many pickoffs from each Genji. And so now it'll be interesting to see how those roles are switched now that both teams have taken the opposite sides. Literal Meme Team now on the defense as, or rather, Literal Meme Team on the attack as Legends in the Making start ahead on the defense. And here we are, we're going to have it. Looks like Legends in the Making are not actually going to take up on the balcony like most teams, which is going to give some leeway for Deep to start moving in to try to get them flanks. Look like they're going to try and hold at the arch right now, trying to secure the marketplace. And as DC Man takes out Deep, so perhaps they have something going for them right now, not allowing them to actually open up that flank, just saying, you know what, we're going to screw that balcony, just come right over here to this arch, we will hold you here as long as we need be.
This positioning is really interesting because even though they gave up holding on to that upper ledge, they've actually kept the payload from traveling as far as Literal Meme Team let it go when they were holding on to the ledge previously. So they've made up some pretty good foundations here for a strong defense. The payload caught right outside this choke point. And we can see now Literal Meme Team opting to try and get a little bit of a flank on. The whole team heading through the well here.
Going through the well.
Throwing some particle bombs out the window there. But I think
like
for the most part they're just trying to charge up ultimates. We'll probably see... Yeah, we can see some ultimates almost ready to go here, and that should cue the fight Here comes Little Mean Team right down the stairway. The two Reinhardts collide, but Deep manages to take out DC Man. But Deadeye comes down but picks up nothing. MrWinsconsin does manage to take out Amag though. That's going to be pretty significant without a damage threat. Rez comes down, bringing back MrWinsconsin, and Bigall's Junkrat going to pick up one. However, this entire time, the payload is just moving.
The payload
backwards.
has been absolutely still. Once again, legends in the making. They're doing pretty good with those frags, but the whole point of this game is to move that payload. You know, all those seconds that payload isn't moving, that's more time for the defense to regroup and actually push in. If you actually put just the map itself together and you keep the same game that we had in the last round, but you keep all those seconds where they did not move the payload, legends in the making would have won that first round. Now, of course, we add the woulda, coulda, shoulda, what if, but didn't. But at the same time, it really just goes to show, they're back where they were. They made no gain in that fight. They got so many pickoffs, they could have even possibly secured this whole entire market phase, but they're actually right back where they started because they were not managing that payload. And so now here we have it. Looks like Little Meme Team is going in for the defense right now as they start to move in right now. Legends in the making, trying to hold them off. MrWinsconsin's gonna get 2 kills as Izzat goes ahead and pops the Tranquility, trying to hold off and allow the team to actually push, but once again the payload isn't moving. We're not seeing any progress being made right now, which is going to allow the defense a few more precious seconds.
My ultimate is charging.
Yeah, we got
Start
60 seconds left on the clock here, and yeah, Literal Meme Team opting for a deathmatch situation. Gonna be really unfortunate for them. This payload is just consistently falling backwards, and it can be a little misleading in the middle of these team fights because it almost looks as if positionally they're gaining an edge on Legends in the making, but the reality is with that payload trickling backward, you can see now Meme Team's learned their lesson. They're on the payload, but unfortunately this payload is still caught in this choke. Attanius is gonna get caught out of his D.Va mech. Bigall's Junkrat tire coming around the back. Rip tire gonna get taken out here. Sound barrier comes down from the attacking team as they try to make their way through this point. MrWinsconsin's gonna take out the Reinhardt though, and without that shield, this choke is gonna be nigh unnegotiable here. The rest of Legends in the making gonna rally behind their own Reinhardt until that shield goes down and try and get some additional damage out. But there's only a few seconds left. Meme Team's gonna have to hop onto this payload if they want to have any chance of making it to the end of this map here. Vapormaid
now looks like it's happening.
But it's not going to stop DC Man's Earthshatter from catching out most of the team, and Bigall with the Rip Tire picks up 2. DC Man follows through with a kill of his own, and there's nobody on this deep, the only one left to possibly contest this payload. He's not able to keep the overtime going, and that'll be a 0-3 loss here for Literal Meme Team.
Literal Meme Team definitely gonna have to take that loss in stride and try to understand that they need to get that payload moving. They need to have that thing going. A lot of team fights were happening where there just was not a whole lot going down, and from our Minutemen champions, generally speaking, we've seen a whole lot more in what they were able to do, but it looks like they were just really excited and getting in those kills, which they did great in. But when you're not moving that payload, you're not doing the objective of the game, which is to get that payload to the next checkpoint so you can keep moving. And so really a lot of their team effort that they went in getting those kills, it was pretty much all for naught. That's what we saw. Yeah. But we're gonna go ahead and start moving on back to the desk. We want to go ahead and thank you guys for watching this first round, and we will be back with you in just a moment. I am That's Gotta Be Kane, and I'm casting here with Arms Race,
and we'll pass it on to Madron.
Thanks, Arm Race. Thanks, Kane. Oh my god, okay, Ruik. So we got stuff to talk about now. We're getting into the matches. Yeah. Alright, so let's start with the attack for Legends in the Making. Because where do you want to start with this? I mean, there was so much interesting stuff. Like, we had Deep playing Genji on defense, living up to his name, definitely going deep inside the enemy team. But there was just so much... I don't even know. DC Man on Reinhardt was playing a lot of really solid play, and there was just so there were so many points where I thought that the game was essentially locked and done, and I was like, okay, Legends in the Making is held here. There's no way, and it went all the way up until the end where we had Literal Meme Team was just I all the way up until the end. I was like, no, they're gonna get stopped. No, they're gonna get stopped, and then I switched on it. I was like, okay, no, Legends in the Making. they're gonna make it. They're gonna make it now. I know they're gonna make it to the end of the map. We're good. And then no, we had a phenomenal play where we had Reinhardt come in and set up a 3-man stun to hold just long enough for Zarya to come out, to hit a toe listing, to lock everybody into a group to where they could finally get a kill to hold the first time. And I was so amazed by the fact that Bryth managed to play with the Reinhardt. He managed to hold it, I think, 2 or 3 times, just by the skin of his teeth, long enough for his teams to come back in.
Yeah, and, the real winner of that game overall was the patience of, the Legends of the Making. They waited until the moment they saw something that was real. They waited until most of their team had their ults or were very close to it, and they waited until they saw a mistake in the enemy team. Multiple times they got they had 1 or 2 people die. They just waited. They tried that flank around the back side of the second control point. It didn't quite work, so they just kind of regrouped, moved to the front, took the high ground, and then did work. Multiple times, their Reinhardt got taken out, but they just recovered. And it's really surprising how well they did that.
Legends of the Making definitely living up to their name. They got the first win, and I agree with you. I think that they got it through not necessarily individual team play, but more not individual play, but they got more from team play. You could tell that every time they made an action, the whole team was together whenever they were like whenever they went for point 2 and they went up back from the garden, they all circled around. The whole team went, and they were all together. They were always on the same page of how they wanted to attack, how they wanted to move in. And I that just comes with playing together. I mean, a literal meme team met last night, played Minutemen. They've had 24 hours that essentially they've been playing together. So sometimes it takes a little while to get in and get that coordination. And it seemed like what they were really trying to do was they were trying to rely on Deep's Genji play to carry them through some picks. And in the first game, it worked. Or I guess the first round, it worked really well for them. But on the second round, you saw the Roadhog come out. Like you and me were talking, I was amazed whenever the Gizmo played Mercy. I was like, okay, really? Deep's been going crazy on Genji, and you're going to play Mercy? That's like
not only that, but a Junkrat at the same time. That's 2 easy picks for a Genji. And you saw early on, Genji was getting shut down, not just by at first it was defensive Genji, but the Roadhog was a really good defensive point there, keeping the Genji back from being able to really hurt his teammates. But not only that, but they just did a really good job of trying to move out of Genji's way. They would see him come in, they would deal with him as best they could, and then they would just stick out of the way, and it really worked. He had to eventually switch to Reaper, which wasn't a bad choice. They had a Roadhog and a Reinhardt, which are 2 very, very hard anti-counters to Reaper. Reaper can kill them super easily. So, that wasn't a bad choice, but he just then couldn't implement his ultimates the way he should have because the team didn't work together to implement all their ults, at the same time. It was 3 of them did what they could. Zenyatta would ult, and then Reinhardt would charge in, then Reinhardt would ult, and then they ran out of stuff to do. So I felt like if they had just waited a bit longer on 2 or 3 of the pushes, they really would have gotten something done.
Yeah, it felt like they were feeling the pressure, and they really wanted to try to go and make the first point. Simba's Roadhog for Legends of the Making was just ridiculously strong. I was amazed by how often he caught Deep with hooks and just managed to hold him off. The whole comp of Legends of the Making seemed to revolve around Bigall on Junkrat and just letting DC Man hold the middle of the choke point, like stand right in between to where you could stop the card on one side and they could not allow the flank that goes back around from the spawn to that walkway next to the fountain. He was just holding that, and then Simba could just kind of go wherever he wanted to lock them down and make sure nothing could happen. Did they ever actually really get the cart all the way through on that push? I think they might have barely pushed it through, but I think that Bigall, because he was hanging out in that one room right next to the archway, I don't think he let anybody pass through that. Like, I think people got the fight through there, but I don't think the cart ever made it in.
Right, yeah, never made it in. And every time they had a team fight, they forgot about the cart, and it just started moving backwards.
Oh, that hurt my heart so much to see. Like, that was one of those moments whenever you saw it, and like they just got in, they started getting some successful kills, and then all of a sudden you pan back out and you see the carts just sitting back there slowly moving back away. So they actually lost movement inside that fight that they almost won. They ended up getting picked off in the end. But
And in
I wouldn't
reality,
be surprised.
they didn't lose that much. They were defending under the point, so they could just retake that. It took 3 seconds to move the cart back up. But it's still the fact that you could tell that their focus was mixed. They were trying as hard as they could to get in there, and then they forgot, what's our objective? We've been trying to kill them this whole time. We can't even remember the objective, it feels like. But I think it just came down to the patience, Legends of the Making had really good patience. They waited, and they did everything when it was the right time. And I felt like, Literal Meme Team just didn't wait. They lacked that fortitude to just look at the situation, determine that they can just waste a little bit of time building their ults up. They can think about how to do things for a little bit, and then move in. But coming from matchmaking, only playing for 24 hours, it's understandable that they don't have perfect communication, and I could see how that wouldn't work out as well.
Yeah, I mean, there was a really good job on shot calling for Legends in the Making. You could tell because there were several times that they had almost their whole team had ultimates. And they would make sure that they wouldn't even burn them all in one fight. Like, you could tell, like, they would hit one ultimate and then hit another ultimate, and then a good section of Literal Meme Team. God, both teams start with an L. Keeps throwing me off. And they would conserve some of their ultimates just in case, or if they wanted to push it harder the next time around. But that being said, we have now gotten our teams together. We've got Boogaloo, looks like, who's going to be going up against Legends in the Making. And I believe that they're starting to try to get the draft put together.
Boogaloo, that reminds me of the Jungle Book.
I always think of bad. Anytime I hear Boogaloo, I always think of bad 70s disco. Isn't that what they used to call it? Like, you go in like Boogaloo or something like that.
You've lost me there. That's probably
I don't know.
You're showing your age on that one. I don't know.
I wasn't alive during the disco era. I'm not that old. Thank you very much. But all right, let's see. There was one other thing. I'm coming over here to take a look at the Matcherino. Oh, Twitch chat. Guys, gotta help us out. Just exclamation point Matcherino. Go enter Cal10, Cal the number 10. Do a free $1. Everybody that's here right now, you can listen to us while you're doing it. Please, please, please. Throw some money into the pool. It's free to do. All you have to do is link your Twitch chat with it. It's super simple. It takes like 10 seconds. Please help out the players. Add into the prize pool. I know that they would appreciate it. Now then, so we've gotten a good idea on what we've seen. I don't know if we've seen a super hyper aggressive push come out of Legends in the Making yet. Like, who should we be looking at inside of these comps? Is it Bigall? Is it Simba?
I feel like as a whole they're working well together, but their Reinhardt is doing a massively well job at just CCing that team at just the right moment. I haven't seen very many of his ults that get less than 3 people, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, there's God, like the whole team like they were playing so well as a team, it was hard to point out somebody specifically. And I mean, Simba had a lot of really good D.Va play. DC Man had a lot of good Reinhardt play. Gizmo managed to play Mercy in this meta right now, so that tells you something. If you had told me that we were going to see a Mercy in the first round today, I would have been like, what? But it came out and it was effective. I mean, we saw a really good res come. Was it 2 really good reses come out of Gizmo?
I saw at least one at the last minute, to hold the objective from hitting that first point. And that, could have been one of the game changers right there. If they had gotten past that first point, who knows how far they could have gone.
That's always the lockdown with Dorado. If you make it past the first point, it's all dreams after that. You can almost finish the map. If you can make it through that first point, through the coordination, you can make it all the way to the end, or at least get within like half a meter, like Legends of the Making did. That breaks your heart. Everybody knows that feel.
The tears that form into salt on the ground afterwards.
There's that, and then there's that moment of seeing the 5-man res with Mercy, and then flying in and somebody like a McCree stunning you and killing you before you make it in. Those are like the 2 worst feels in the world. And the card is like a millimeter away, and you die, and you just start seeing it slowly back away, and just like profanities.
Those last minute moments when there's a D.Va high up in the air about to explode.
Right, looks like we're starting to get the draft popping up here. naturally, we always ban out the control points and the King of the Hill maps. So you can see that those are dropping off. Temple of Anubis, Hanamura, Volskaya, Ilios, Lijiang Tower, Watchpoint, Gibraltar, and Hollywood are all already off the table. So we were left with Dorado, Kings Row, Numbani, and Route 66.
I want to see Numbani.
I always want to see. I don't remember the last time I've casted a Numbani game. It's still in. They decided to get rid of Dorado. Hey, apparently they don't. Everybody knows the curse. Archway of Doom, go away. We don't like you.
Exactly.
So we still got Kings Row and Numbani Route 66. I'm willing to bet Numbani's probably going to go. We're going to end up with Kings Row
Sadly.
Route 66.
Although
66
I would
is
be
gonna
okay
go.
with Kings Row.
I like Kings Row. Again, anything that allows for variance inside of heroes.
Right.
It seems like whenever you play Hollywood, you've got, well, I don't know, sometimes you get Widow in Hollywood.
Well, we've got a ban on Kings Row.
Kings Row got banned?
Numbani's still in
Is
there.
it the dream? Are we getting Numbani?
Could we have the dream?
It's all up to Boogaloo. Oh, we got to restart. Somebody made a mistake. Feels bad, man. My heart of hearts.
The tears. Hopefully they'll follow the same pattern that they did before.
I don't know. Teams, you're breaking us up here. We want to root for you. We want you to do good, but then you like tease us with Numbani and then go no.
I'm not a big tease kind of man. I like a straightforward kind of answer. So
got the Texas drawl coming out there.
Mm-hmm.
Coming in the South.
Y'all know what I'm saying.
So now we're letting that get set up. Everybody in Twitch chat, calm down with us. I know we're gonna get it back together. Remember, a lot of these teams are just getting their feet underneath them, so getting used to the drafting phases, things like that. It takes a couple of tries. I know it sounds super simple, but these interfaces, if you've never used them, whenever you know people are watching you in Twitch chat, make you a little bit nervous. So it's always good to be a little chill, let them learn. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, competitive Overwatch or Cow League is predominantly a Discord group where we get together and help people find players and run events such as this. You can join through the Discord. So I always recommend everybody do the exclamation Discord, get your link in if you're not already in there, come in and become part of the community. Naturally, always talk in general chat. You can see most of the casters, production staff, any of the managers are usually in to drop a chat here or there. If you have questions, there's plenty of areas that you can join into. And in addition, there's plenty of ways to find people to play with. That's always the biggest part of Overwatch is, I'll be the guy that says it. We all have friends, and some of them play Overwatch, and some of them aren't necessarily the people you want to play with. So if you need people that are around your rank and you want to find people to play with, our Discord group is a great place to go. We're rocking right around 8,000 to 10,000 members. I mean, we could find something to help you play. Come on in, become a part of it. I think me and Rook played earlier today, getting to hang out a little bit.
It was super fancy. I got that Hanzo main out. Everybody groaned. I did amazing things.
Hey, it's PTR Hanzo, though. It's PTR Hanzo. Totally different than one.
Hey.
All right, so we're bringing the draft back up, everybody.
Numbani's still in there.
Oh, is it?
Oh, tears.
Sad face.
Absolute tears. We got
Who would've
Kings Row
thought?
66.
Kings Row Route 66. It's almost like we've done this before.
I feel like there's only so many maps. Looks like we're going to Kings Row, though.
Hey, I'm fine with Kings Row.
Kings Row is definitely a really great map.
I like it because it opens up the potential for a little bit of sniping at point one. We have a chance. Maybe somebody, if nobody's playing Zenyatta, somebody might get ballsy and decide to play a Pharah. I know she's super out of meta right now, but Streets Phase Pharah is like one of the best heroes in the game.
Do you remember early professional meta when they would put a Bastion with a Reinhardt on top of the payload?
Yes, that's back in the days whenever we had the double Zenyatta, double Genji. I'm just going to wreck your face and jump at you all the time.
Exactly. The tier comps.
Oh. So we've got our draft settled. All of our players look like they're getting into place. So we've got just a couple more minutes before we go in. So things to keep an eye on. Watch out for DC Man's Reinhardt, which we saw last time around. I know that we've seen some good play before from Atlas. And I believe Infam, I'm trying to remember, but were they a part of a Minutemen before? asking you. You're usually playing in the Minutemen. You wouldn't know. So
yeah,
Twitch,
I miss out most of the time, sadly.
So with that being said, we are going to start getting them load in. So Kings Row, what are you expecting to see inside of this comp-wise?
Comp-wise, I am gonna miss Amag's, Junkrat here. Not many other people I've seen so far use the Junkrat, so I think I'm gonna see the Roadhog come out again from Simba. I feel like he falls back to that pretty well for the most part. When whatever comp they choose doesn't work out, he seems to fall back to Roadhog, especially on defense. So I feel like the first defense point, he's gonna do that Roadhog defense. They might even do the Mercy again if they're feeling, pumpy. But I think that the way they handled the Genji coming in on them on the previous map goes to show kind of their inner strengths that are going on. And I think that any Genji on the enemy team isn't going to be able to, hurt them that much, seeing as the Genji that they were defending against was deep.
Yeah, I mean, like, everybody's talking about, oh, Genji must die. Genji is ripped. We must murder him on the PTR. I mean, a well-organized team can handle a Genji pretty nicely, as we saw last time around. I would be curious to see if maybe a Tracer might affect them differently. The way that they move seems to be very conducive for handling flankers very well, which I think is what enables that Mercy play. Now, what happens whenever we have a super aggro team with maybe a Winston and a Tracer and a Genji all jumping on you? We might see that on an attack in here. Are we getting into game, guys? All right, here we go. Time to pass you guys over to the casters, so we're going to send you guys over to Kane and Arms Race to get us started.
Welcome back, soldiers and scientists, to the Cow League Open number 10. We are here at round 2 of our open event, and we're going to be featuring Boogaloo versus Legends in the Making. Legends in the Making just coming off of a win during round 1. They will be on the red side. With me to break down the action, I have my co-caster. That's got to be Kane. Kane, how's it going?
Oh, my man, I'm doing pretty good, Arms Race. Doing pretty good. I can't complain. I'm here watching some real good Overwatch, casting with my favorite caster, Arms Race. And, we are about to get some real... I feel like we're going to get a real treat tonight, because we're playing on the most usual map, I would say probably the Dust 2 variant of Overwatch. We are playing on Kings Row. We are playing on the map to be on. And, as far as I'm concerned, we have some pretty good compositions right now. Looking at Boogaloo on the blue side, we have Zwand going to be playing on the Reinhardt. We have Infam, of course, on Lucio. Atlasvisuals going to be playing on the Reaper, a very great choice for a map like this. Xoana is going to be playing on McCree with Tent on the Zarya. So we're going to see some Torb compositions here. MrWinsconsin, of course, is going to be playing once again on Legends in the Making as the McCree. DC Man's going to be playing, of course, on Reinhardt. Gizmo on Lucio. Simba is playing on Harambe on the Winston. And then, of course, we have Bigall on Genji Izzat once again on the Zenyatta. And so here we are. Both teams are going to go ahead and posture at the choke point here at the beginning as they move past the hotel. And action already unfolding.
Simba's going to take down Z1, actually moving as a very cohesive group right now, but when they lose DC Man to Xoana, or who we're going to call X for the rest of this, they do back off momentarily, though they picked up a couple more picks now, and then they've got Boogaloo on the back foot here as Atlas and Infam have to move back behind this archway, and it looks like in just a few moments, Legends in the Making have managed to secure this first capture point here.
And you know what? I really like the way Legends in the Making did this. Generally speaking, most teams will take the long plunge and they will kind of spearhead their way to the point. I like what they did here. They took their time, they went behind the statue, they popped down the Winston shield, which really just absorbed a lot of volleys, a lot of ranged attack, which allowed them to have full clear vision for Legends in the Making to start picking off people with really nice frags, getting people whittled down before making the second pounce over to try to take the point. And by that time, they didn't necessarily even need to get an entire team kill. They only killed a few, and because not a single person from Team Legends in the Making had actually gotten taken out, it really just kind of forced the issue. Boogaloo, however, honestly doing the right thing and having fallen back as they didn't, want to lose too many people, before that team fight happened. And now here we go right now, MrWinsconsin and Simba with an amazing composition getting them inside as MrWinsconsin picks up a 3 triple kill with that Deadeye. Bigall also going all in, getting a real nice kill with the Dragon's Blade on Xoana. Dome or DC Man is going to take off Tent. MrWinsconsin is going to take out Pimpdaddy, and that right there is a full team wipe. And Pimpdaddy himself saying it, holy McCree, that was as decisive as it gets. I really like the aggressive, precise execution coming out from Legends in the Making. They're going to take this second checkpoint with the greatest of ease. 7 minutes on the clock. Arms race. What is going on right now?
What we were looking at, that's really just a coordination check. Legends in the Making, they just said, do you coordinate? Because we coordinate. And they, Boogaloo lost the coordination check there and lost a ton of their teammates. And here comes another epic amount of coordination. Earthshatter comes down. Now on the side of Boogaloo, they're going to catch most of Legends in the Making in that Graviton Surge. However, Legends in the Making picking up kill after kill. They're actually going to get a team kill here. Really back and forth team fight, but it is going to go to the side of Legends in the Making. Infam trying to get as close to the payload as he can, but he is going to get backed off as Legends in the Making start cramming team members into the exit from the spawn, trying to see if they can get this payload to the end. Atlas going to throw down the Death Blossom, only manages to pick up 1 and gets taken out by MrWinsconsin's McCree. 10 still on the payload, trying to contest as long as possible, but Bigall is going to take him out. One by one, everybody coming out from the side of Boogaloo's, trying to contest. Pimpdaddy might be able to do it with this Transcendence here. He does manage to contest for much longer than you would expect because of his invincibility. Atlas now the only one left on the point. DC Man going to take him out. And every single time we lose somebody, somebody else makes it back onto the payload. But not this time.
That right there is what we like to call the funnel dance.
Yeah, some pretty chaotic back and forth there on the payload towards the end. But that's going to be a pretty emphatic victory here on the side of Legends in the Making. That was a quick match.
That was as decisive as can be. And it's like you said, you know, that was a great, I like what you used there, coordination check. Are you coordinated? Because we're coordinated. And they were very coordinated. As a matter of fact, it was pretty much one-sided as Legends in the Making, really just showing that they are, in fact, a team that is coordinated, that they're coming in this one apiece. They're coming in here really all together, corralled, ready, and they are showing great execution with all of their work right now. And if you're wanting to stand a chance, you're gonna have to show in tow that you also can work in tandem with each other. And what we saw right there was just Boogaloo having been completely just piecemealed at every part of the point. Every single play that we saw was executed as perfect as you can humanly be. We saw the funnel dance coming in towards the end, and everything from that point was just a matter of keeping hold together. We've seen so many fights in the past where, you know, sometimes those kind of funnel dances that go on the longer that they go on, it usually favors the defense. But we saw well-paced ults. We didn't see them use any more than they needed to, given the fact that they knew it was a funnel dance. They didn't need to use anything that they didn't have to, noticing, Gizmo not having even used, of course, his payload, or rather his sound barrier, near the payload until it was pretty much necessary before they were able to get Simba back on the point, start popping up his shield. So what do you expect to see for this defense now that we're going to see a chance for Boogaloo to hopefully be able to return that same kind of aggressive offensive payment that Legends in the Making dished out on them?
Yeah, so honestly, just as a reminder, this is going to be a competitive rule set. So it's not time-based, which means that Boogaloo can spend the whole map time to try and capture the same number of points that Legends in the Making did. But if Legends in the Making keep that coordination, they should be able to put up a much stronger defense. And we're seeing that here. Bigall picking up one member after another, ended up forcing Boogaloo all the way back to their spawn. And so it really, I don't know if there's any amount of time that will make this matchup go in Boogaloo's favor. I think what Boogaloo needs to do is start showing that same level of coordination.
Yeah, we've already seen the bar getting set right now. The bar's already been set very high by Legends in the Making. If you do not have coordination, you're not even going to get anything on here. You're definitely not going to get any kind of spearheadedness. But right now, it looks like 10 is able to take out Simba with enough focus. But MrWinsconsin returning the frag on Xoana, which takes out the Genji. Atlasvisuals having to take out Bigall, which does in fact give them the lead. But MrWinsconsin's going to take out Zwand. Evening it up again. Atlasvisuals taking down, of course, MrWinsconsin, which again puts it in favor of Boogaloo. Xoana back and taking out Izzat. This is in fact their chance. They are able to move in. They need to wrap around DC Man, not give him so much time to wrap up. This is what I was talking about. They waited way too long. Gizmo now having brought out the sound barrier, and this is gonna give them potentially a chance to move on. But great stuff right there. Zwand is with the nano boost, which is gonna allow him to push back Simba as well as the rest of the team. And I think right now Legends in the Making is gonna forfeit that point, realizing they're better off setting up near the alleyway and pub. And that right there,
types of ulti combinations that we need to see Boogaloo bring out time and time again.
Exactly.
And that's going to earn them their way to this third point at the end of this map here. Legends in the Making have plenty of ultimates for themselves. Going to hang back behind the corner on this streets phase, and I think probably let Boogaloo wander as far forward into their ultimates as they'd like to. Exchanging some fire from side to side here. And we can see now Bigall coming with the flank. He throws down the Death Blossom, but only manages to pick up Pimpdaddy. However, he doesn't lose his life for it. DC Man throws down the Earth Shatter. Doesn't pick up too many, but he does pick up one with the charge. Simba coming out with the whole hog, going to force Boogaloos all the way back to their spawn. And Legends in the Making have used some coordination of their own to reclaim this payload here.
Quite a good amount of coordination, as a matter of fact, and as we're able to tell right now, MrWinsconsin already with his Deadeye, as he didn't have to use that, Izzat, as we can see, is also charging up to the point of getting near his ultimate as well as Gizmo. So if they can time this right there, we'll actually be able to have some support ultimates for this next fight, but they need to be able to use it now as they're already getting engaged, and they need to be real careful right now. All of Boogaloo is moving in as fast as they can, but they get nothing with the Torpid Suck. There's very little coordination, as we were talking about right now. Not a lot of focus. Zwand's able to take out DC Man, but Simba takes out Xoana, and there goes the return sound barrier just in time to nullify a lot of this Earth Shatter that's coming out right now from Zwand right now. Then here you go, the Torp, or rather the DC Man, sorry, there was MrWinsconsin coming out with the Deadeye, but doesn't really get enough with that. Bigall, however, is going to get 2 with the Death Blossom, and that's going to still allow this tide to get stemmed over by Legends in the Making. They had enough time to actually come back in that fight, all because of the lack of coordination that came in from Boogaloo.
Yeah, Tent on Boogaloo's side, throwing out that Graviton Surge, kind of whiffing, but Xoana was on the same page, and he went in on Genji, but there was no enemy team collected together, and so they weren't able to pick up many kills. And then MrWinsconsin with absolutely brutal Deadeye positioning, standing on top of the tube station there, able to force everyone back with his Deadeye. And Legends in the Making have now set up pretty firmly here on this payload. It's a narrow choke. Hook lands onto Infam, but Tent's actually going to take Simba out for sticking his neck out. DC Man charges in. He's going to connect with Atlas, and the rest of his team follows through. Bigall picks up 2. MrWinsconsin with a pick onto Pimpdaddy from all the way in the distance. And that's going to be another team kill here for Legends in the Making.
Another team kill indeed, and right now, as we've been seeing, they've been very conservative with their ultimates, choosing when and where they're going to use them already. 2 ultimates, Simba, along with MrWinsconsin coming up on his own, along with Izzat, the support ultimate enough to hold off another, though as we're seeing right now, 4 ultimates going on 5. It's ready for Team Boogaloo, so if they can hold this off and they can execute this correctly, they should be able to secure this second checkpoint with ease right now. Here comes the Deadeye right now. MrWinsconsin taking out Pimpdaddy, and that is not going to allow for the nano boost combo. And there you have it. Izzat's gonna pop out the Tranquility to try to hold off his team. Simba taking out Zwand, but Tent's gonna take out DC Man. Atlasvisuals gonna take down Simba, and just like that, they're gonna keep on moving. The Tortoise Steel's gonna go in, but they're not gonna get anything. And an amazing knockback by Gizmo, completely shutting out the kill potential. A minute and a half remaining. 3 ultimates burned for 2. 3 ultimates for 2, and they're still sitting pretty. Gizmo with an ultimate, Pimpdaddy, which was so crucial in allowing the Reinhardt Pimpdaddy combo to allow so much pushing power, and it is gone. They are resetting back to 0 with only 1-in-1 available, and as we've seen already, when it comes ult to ult, man for man, we've seen more coordination and kill power from Legends in the making, and so as we're looking at things right now, they are in fact in the lead.
Bigall trying to come in with a flank there, but the nano boost goes down on Zwand. He actually gets earth shattered. Sound Bearer comes down for Legends in the making, while Bigall picks up a couple kills in the back line. The rest of his team's just going to follow suit, picking up kill after kill. MrWinsconsin throws down the Deadeye, but there's really nobody to pick up here. The rest of his team is going to collapse. MrWinsconsin going to take out Pimpdaddy. Xoana actually getting caught out as well. Boogaloo looks like they're feeling pretty pressured to get back onto this payload. They only have 25 seconds, but if they continue to go in 1 by 1, they'll never have the numbers they need to make this approach. DC Man's not going to give them that chance. He charges into Zwand and Simba hooks him off. MrWinsconsin throws down the Deadeye, picks up Nil, as Izzat throws down the Transcendence to give his team some extra HP to work with here.
And 3 seconds left on the clock, and right now, no ultimates up
but
on him.
Xoana actually made it on there. He did trigger overtime, but it's not going to be long enough as the rest of his team gets taken out by Bigall, not able to connect and continue that overtime.
Yeah, and it's like we were saying earlier.
Ultimate denial there.
Definitely. You know, it's like we were saying earlier, you know, at this early stage, you know, you really start seeing, you know, with teams, which ones are coordinated and which ones are simply lacking. And simply put, you know, we saw here a team that was coordinated to a team that was really starting to struggle to make their team fights execute as well as as I'm sure they wanted them to. And so what we saw was a pretty staunch defense and a very, you know, powerful, precise, coordinated offense from, of course, Team Legends in the making. And they're going to go ahead and start moving on to the 3rd round. But, of course, we're going to go ahead and start moving on back to the desk. My name, again, is That's Gotta Be Kane, and I am co-casting along with my man, Arms Race. And, Matchroom, Desk, see you guys over there.
Thanks so much, Kane. Appreciate you passing back over to us. So here we sit, Ruik. We were talking all this time about all these players, and then we got MrWinsconsin that was being all quiet on Legends in the making, and he's like, nope, this game, you're talking about my McCree a little bit more. You're not going to pass me over like you did last time, Desk. I mean, that was some solid play out of MrWinsconsin in that. Where do you want to start about?
What I really saw, excuse me, was MrWinsconsin's ult. He wasn't really looking for those kills. He was mostly trying to give his team the time they needed to really reformat themselves, get their health back up, reposition to set up for those next small pushes that they were doing. And I felt that was super important. And a lot of McCree players are scared to use their ult without actually using it and killing some people, when it's really not that big of a deal to just sit there for 10 seconds, make the enemy team scared, and push them back. And it's a big deal at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to that whole Legends in the making and how they were capable. They're capable of playing with each other, and they have so much synergy. They're doing a great job of using MrWinsconsin's McCree ult to zone, put people exactly where they want them, and then letting somebody else jump onto that spot around the corner that they try to hide, or just using it to push them, like at that last fight there, push them completely all the way back to their spawn, and then just never let them back out again. I mean, there's so many different small parts to talk about. I mean, naturally we get, like, DC Man has been playing phenomenal Reinhardt this whole time. There were multiple phenomenal ults that he's gotten off. He's just done a great job, him and Simba, of protecting their team members and letting them do damage. I mean, that during their attack phase was just ridiculous, the speed that they put on. I mean, you put Simba on Harambe and just let him go. And
exactly.
That was a competitive time. It wasn't something like 3 minutes, 30 seconds, somewhere in that range.
It was very fast. But I feel like, you can't give all of the credit to, Legends in the making. one of the biggest deals about the speed of that, defense is they kind of let the team in really easily. The Reinhardt originally, during the original hold on Boogaloo, was holding the left side of the pillar on that first gate entryway, and his whole team was on the right, including his Zarya and his McCree. And so he was holding a shield up and not defending anybody. So, it wasn't really that helpful. And then once they rushed in, he was caught out on the left, and his team was without a Reinhardt, and then it just kind of fell apart from there. So you can't really blame the attacking team for annihilating the defending team when the defending team didn't defend.
Yeah, there was it seemed like just the coordinated efforts that were coming out of Legends in the Making kind of threw Boogaloo a little bit. I mean, whenever they went with the Ana pick in their attacking phase, there were so many times like you could see Ana ult Zwand to go in, he'd go in and he'd get a kill, and then they would retreat and they would settle with that, because at that point the rest of Legends in the Making had already retreated. There was a lot of really interesting play calling inside there. I wouldn't say that necessarily was bad. It just almost seemed like it was about 3 or 4 seconds behind the moment that they wanted to make the play. And so and it's whenever you're playing on it's become super obvious, because it's like, okay, I'm going to ult you, you go in, and this is the way it's going to happen. And then you ult Reinhardt, and at that point, 3 people are already dead. So Reinhardt gets ult, kills one person, and then retreats. Or there was the one time during the Streets phase where Zwand got ulted, he charged in, and then ended up separated from his entire team because the rest of Legends of the Making just walked past him and went after all the squishies and just went to go take them out. So then he ended up having to fight 3 people by himself and call off a no man's land. I mean, I wouldn't say there was, like I said, I wouldn't say bad communication. It just seemed like it was just a little bit too slow. And again, we're not listening to the comms, so we don't know, but that's just the vibe that I got from it.
Right. And on that last push, when it was in the street phase, stuck right at the end with those stairs on the right, they kept hitting the same area, and they didn't really rethink their situation. I think if they had taken the time to go upstairs, go through the balcony, up the left side, they would have had that high ground vantage point to really get a jump on the enemy team, get on the payload, and do some damage. But they kept hitting them, they just kept foreheading, right in there. And they would lose one person, they'd back off, they'd lose another person, and it became, their spawns were layered out, and it just didn't end well at the, at the core of the strategy. I felt like the defending team really held together well. They used their ults in coordination, despite being rushed a lot of the times. They lost the first of the map. I don't want to say super fast, but that first point's kind of hard to hold in almost any situation. If a team's really being aggressive, it's hard to hold because there's so many different. They basically just encircle you. But yeah. I feel like that street phase really shows a good defense.
There's the streets phase is one of those areas that you can't put it on the Dorado level, but it's very make or break. Just that L bracket in the way that you don't really have a very strong line of sight, and the defense has the ability to gain the upper ground far easier through the pass on the right and the pass on the left. It's almost like it turns the whole section of that map into one giant choke point if played properly. And I will say that Legends of the Making definitely seemed to make it feel like that whole section was a choke point, especially that last minute where you just couldn't. They were pushed all the way back to spawn. Like you said, the fact that the Boogaloo couldn't even see the cart at a certain phase where they were fighting at. It was around 2 corners down the path, and they couldn't even come close to it, except for diving through with a tank and barely making it just to keep the overtime going. That's never a good place to be at.
Right. But something I really want to see is Legends in the Making. Their DC man Reinhardt is very good, but he keeps making the same mistake of using his ult on another shielding Reinhardt and then charging him when it would have been more effective to charge and then use the ult.
Well, we've got we're moving into the game now, everybody. That was a quick downtime, so looks like we have we're going to be passing it back over to the casters. So that's going to be Kane and Arms Race. You guys take it away.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Cal League Open number 10. We are here in round 3 between Legends in the Making and 20 Boink. And I'm here with my co-caster. That's gotta be Kane. Kane, tell me, is there some type of meaning behind the name 20 Boink that I'm just not understanding, or is it just an odd name?
You know, Arms Race, I think I'm gonna go with just, it's an odd name. 20 Boink. That sounds like a story to tell, you know, over a campfire, some Swiss Miss, hot cocoa and maybe some saltine crackers, but,
Yeah, I was
generally
just wondering if
speaking.
it was some kind of meme that I was unfamiliar with. But
Oh man, you know, that's a meme I'm gonna have to put down in my fanny pack and check on my calendar. I don't know. 20 Boink. You know, I mean, I'm tempted to just say Boink. I mean, I know what boinking is. You know, I know, you know, Piglet is a pig. You know, he boinks, or he oinks, I guess. But yeah, I mean, anyways, yeah, 20 Boink is gonna be going up against Legends in the Making here on the map of Dorado, a map in which we've seen Legends in the Making play really well on. Both on the offense and defense. Very stalwart. They seem very familiar with this map. It'll be really interesting to see how 20 Boink is actually able to move on, as we're going to see what they're made of on this attack. Once again,
Yeah,
Legends in the Making going to start off at the arch.
20 Boink on the red side, going to be coming out with a pretty standard composition, although there will be a Tracer and a Genji, it looks like. A lot of switching around after the match already started, which is pretty interesting. Seems like 20 Boink was definitely looking for some information about Legends composition before they committed to any one particular hero. Legends in the Making going to be holding out at this archway here as Kapoww throwing some shurikens over the top. Not going to deal too much damage, just trying to get as much of an ultimate charge as he can before the first brawl breaks out. And here we go. Winston and Tracer jumping into the back line of Legends here, going to pick up 2. Blink actually managed to pick up MrWinsconsin. Kapoww going to take out DC Man, and slowly but surely they're going to start wiping off one Legend after the other. And Legends in the Making have pretty much been team killed, as Bigall is forced to bounce away on his Junkrat there. And that's a pretty strong first showing coming out from 20 Boink.
A very strong first showing, and one that was highly relying on simply flanking and fragging. And what we saw, of course, yeah, they had no ultimates, so of course you're coming in, you know, Tracer, you know, blank on Tracer along with the Genji with the Kapoww. You need to move in and you need to get just straight up kills. You know, you're practically, when you play 2 flankers like Genji and Tracer, you're practically playing double, you know, flanking initiation. You know, those 2 are moving in to cause the kind of disarray, you know, and disorientation of a team, you know, to get piecemeal for the rest of the team, a failure, and of course, you know, the rest of the damage to move in. And as you can see already, you know, Boink throwing out the self-destruct, trying to get a kill. Doesn't really get much at all, but of course it does do enough for the team to get knocked on down. Kapoww is going to get himself a nice double kill as he moves in with a lot of frags. They're repeating what worked the first time, and as we're already seeing right now, Kapoww not allowing for Legends in the Making to gather their bearings. They are keeping up the pressure, constantly having one person zip-zopping around, trying to keep them as distorted as possible, not allowing for either team to really get back together. And it looks like at this rate, 20 Boink is going to secure this second checkpoint.
Yeah, it seems like 20 Boink is really thriving on chaos. They started it the first time by throwing Winston and Tracer in the back. They started it the second time by having Boink's mech self-destruct in the middle of the team. And when the whole portion of Legends gets discombobulated, they start picking up kill after kill.
And already, what we're seeing right now are a lot of pickoffs already. You know, Gizmo having been able to take out Kapoww, but he didn't have to pop any of his ultimates right now. Though I will have to say, you know, the ultimate being popped by Izzat, you know, it was almost something of a, would have to say, maybe a little bit of a hasty thrown out, and it just kind of goes to show that they're really kind of struggling to try to grab together a lot of their team right now. They're trying to hold off at this last point, but they're gonna have to do so with 5 minutes to spare. Generally speaking, it takes about a good team fight or so for your team to really saturate a point. And for the defense right now, they haven't had that chance. And if they fail another team wipe, it might just be over. And so given that the rest of team 20 Boink is falling back, regrouping, this does give Legends in the Making a chance to group up. But they only have 2 ultimates compared to the 3.
Boink going to throw in his mech, have it self-destruct one more time. Another self-destruct coming from the defending team this time. Simba creating a little chaos of his own, gonna pick up Zenyatta. Izzat's gonna pick up Blank before he can do too much. However, Kapoww's whipping around his Dragon Blade in the back line, manages to get a double kill. DC Man finishes him off before he falls himself. But this entire time, this payload is moving. It's slowly gaining ground to this final port here. Still tons of time to contest here. 4 minutes and 47 seconds that Legends in the Making are going to have to keep this going. They're looking for one solid team fight, some type of massive team kill that'll help them regain a foothold here. But 20 Boink's just not giving them any room to work with, constantly trying to throw them off guard with these displacing ultimates, and it's paying off big for them so far.
And I really have to say, you know, the presence alone of a Winston really jars a team's composition if they're not careful, because it forces you to constantly stay on your toes. You know, a thrown ultimate is thrown out, of course, by Simba as they try to get out some kind of damage, but it doesn't really go as they want it right now. And it looks like the rest of 20 Boink is going to move out, and all the ultimates are coming out in tandem. Izzat having gone out with the Tranquility as a sound barrier is thrown out by Nmly. And here we go, the rest of the team, all of 20 Boink is awake right now, and they're going. Simba is going to throw the ultimate, but doesn't get much, but it does do enough to scatter the team. This is once again chaos, the kind of chaos which 20 Boink thrives in. The double frag kill is going to come out from Blank as Failure takes out Gizmo. Gizmo being the only defensive border which is actually going to protect the rest of Legends in the Making. And just like that, the last pickoffs are coming. 20 Boink takes this first round quite decisively. They thrived in the chaos of the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was so interesting to see how almost every single team fight, except for that first one we saw, was initiated with a very haphazard self-destruct. You could tell by the way that Boink was throwing out his self-destructs that they really weren't even investing too much in whether or not that self-destruct got any kills. They just wanted to throw off Legends in the Making, force them to break formation and kind of get disorganized, so that they could just jump in and take out everybody who's running around trying to avoid that damage one by one. And it worked really, really well. Even on the last team fight, Boink actually threw the self-destruct up into the rafters of the ziggurat up there, and it actually got stuck. It didn't even come down or deal any damage, but it was just enough to force Legends in the Making back and allow 20 Boink the chaos they needed to pick up those kills. But now 20 Boink will be on the defensive side. They may be subject to a little unexpected chaos on their own, and we'll have to see how they handle that. So once again, on the blue side, we will have Legends in the Making. Gizmo will be playing Lucio. Izzat will be playing Zenyatta. MrWinsconsin on the McCree. Bigall on the Genji. DC Man on the Reinhardt, and Simba on Winston.
And then, of course, on 20 Boink, we have Kapoww playing on the Reaper. We have Blank going ahead again on the McCree. Boink is going to be playing Zarya. Nmly will be on Lucio. Disaster will be on the Zenyatta. And Failure will be playing Reinhardt. So a very double tank composition, something that isn't as flanky and chaotic, but very hard hitting, very spearheaded, as it were. It will be really interesting to see how they play moving in towards this arch. As we've been able to see, you know, it does very well in holding. It does very well in attacking in bursts with the double executions, of course, from Boink as well as Failure. They have a whole lot of precise movements in which they can move in, of course, just executing team fights in their favor. And of course, a lot of the defense showing a lot of split, of course, and a lot of flank powers coming in from Bigall and, of course, Simba. And as we're seeing right now, Bigall, having already gotten flanked off, this doesn't look good right now for Legends in the Making.
Yeah, this is really curious. The payload makes its way all the way up to the fountain here, practically uncontested. All of 20 Boink was there, but they didn't contest at all until the very end here. And so, even though they do manage to get this team kill, the payload's going to be just meters away. It'll start trickling back, but it really won't make it back that far. That's a significant distance. When you consider that this is Legends' first time pushing this payload, the fact that they managed to make it all the way into the market, that's a pretty good sign. We've seen Legends in the Making here before. They're very methodical with their pushes, and So they're very patient and they'll wait it out if they need to. A massive Earth Shatter comes down from Failure, picks up almost everyone on the side of Legends in the Making. Kill after kill goes down. Bigall is going to pick up one in return, but the majority of his team is dead and he's going to join them very quickly afterwards. Another resounding team kill coming out from 20 Boink.
And you know, I really have to say that probably wasn't the best thing coming in from DC Man, the shield management that we saw. I would have liked to have seen a flankage from the balcony of something, because there was just so much time which they were moving down the archway, in which they're having a speed boost now, whereas before he was just making his merry way up into that point, and it allowed his shield to break, which allowed them to get susceptible over to Failure's Earth Shatter. And already DC Man is away from his team where 2 frags were happening, and there you have it. DC Man is going to pop the Earth Shatter as the sound barrier gets thrown down, but not a lot's going to be going out. It was not the kind of a team fight that you want to execute as an offense. The tank having been completely separated from their team, and it's going to allow for Legends in the Making to have to reset this. 20 Boink is getting everything and then some that they need. Failure already with a second Earth Shatter in one team fight, and he's going to pick up another kill. This has now been the 3rd Earth Shatter within pretty much the last minute and a half, and it has allowed him to pick up at least 2 kills. Great managing of his shield, great timing of his executions, great Earth Shatters, and more importantly, just amazing pressure from the team, not allowing for any kind of regrouping and corralling of Legends in the Making to go without some kind of price being paid. And that includes DC Man's shield, which forces them to initiate on their terms. Right now, the pace of battle is in 20 Boink's position.
DC Man gonna charge into the back there, takes out Blank. Kapoww though picking up a double kill with his Death Blossom. Graviton Surge gonna pick up the rest of the team as Failure just wipes his hammer through the whole team. And there goes pretty much another team kill. Yep, there it is. MrWinsconsin gonna fall in the end. And this is just absolutely brutal. This is a very difficult cycle to deal with, and it's very easy to get caught in when you have just a few ultimates that you think might be the key to earning you the first checkpoint on this attack here. But meanwhile, 20 Boink is dealing with multiple ultimates every time this fight engage, and they're just using the few specific ones they need to wipe the entire team. Here comes a resounding push forward though, the speed boost coming out. Bigall going to pick up 2, Izzat's going to pick up 1 as well. Bigall with the triple now. And 20 Boink not even given the option to use those leftover ultimates, as they get taken out way quicker than I think even they expected. And in just the nick of time, that extra time is going to be given and a point will go to Legends in the Making. They've earned themselves an extra life, some extra breathing room.
A reprieve, as it were.
Start their way to the second checkpoint.
Definitely a reprieve, as it were. Legends in the Making having gotten exactly what they needed, with very few ultimates on their plate when having gone into that fight. And it was just a matter of them really trying to get that coordination like we've seen in previous games before, where they just simply put needed to get done. They needed to get the right frags. They needed to get everything on point, and they did. And as this fight's going to begin right now, 20 Boink going in for the hit, but right now a perfect ultimate is going to be thrown out by Simba, but an amazing Zarya shield saves Blake right now. Izzat is doing everything he can to hold, but Bigall's the only one who can dish out the damage right now from Legends in the Making, and at the moment he is struggling to get any kind of picks off right now. He gets absolutely nothing as Boink takes out Bigall. 2 minutes on the point. Legends in the Making, however, is moving the payload, and that's exactly what they need to keep doing. Boink starting to set up near that checkpoint as they try to keep hold of what they have. Boink, of course, the one holding the upper ground with Kapoww, and followed in by Failure. Boink also has the Torpid Suck, so they do have a way in resetting this field, and they're actually going to go for it. Arms race.
There's a Graviton Surge going down. It's going to catch up most of the team. Disaster actually going to take out DC Man. And with that Reinhardt gone, this front line is severely lacking. And you can tell that Legends in the Making going to start backing off right away while missing that team member. It's a very tough situation to be in because you want to be moving the payload at all times. But the reality is Legends in the Making was missing a few team members. And so moving the payload was putting them into a 3v6. That they just were not ready for, and they got caught out by that Graviton Surge way early. The rest of their team wasn't able to fall into position and collapse on it, and so they're going to reset now. Most of 20 Boink up on this upper ledge here. They've got all offensive and support ultimates ready to go. Sound Barrier comes out on the side of Legends in the Making. Deadeye's gonna pick up 2. Disaster's gonna finish off MrWinsconsin, so there'll be no attacking Deadeye coming out. Disaster throws down the Transcendence just to keep the rest of 20 Boink alive as they finish off DC Man and earn themselves another emphatic team kill.
You know, that's the
Really
kind of pressure
terrific
that we were
combo of
seeing earlier.
ultimates there.
Oh, very great. And as a matter of fact, like we were saying before, they're doing a really good job in holding this high ground just by the bank up on this ledge like you were calling before. It holds so much leverage on a team. You limit their ability of being able to flank unless you're coming in from all the way around the back of the church, in which it looks like Legends in the Making are actually going to do in order to try to get ahead. But they need to make a plan happen now as 10 seconds remains, and they're going to be forced to move on to get somebody on that payload to contest it. And here comes the speed boost out from Gizmo. They're going to be forced to go in as DC Man does take out Failure, which allows them to move in. The Torpness going to be thrown in just, but it gets whiffed as nothing is grabbed in. Blank, however, does take out Bigall, and that's going to be one down away from Legends in the Making. Blink and the resting folks are going to go in, but they do not contest that point, and if they're not careful, this team fight's going to keep going with them securing time. They need to get on that checkpoint. Oh, 0.64 meters away as Blink, Disaster, and Kapoww get in that double kill. That might have been everything they need as they try to hold off Simba's blast, and they do by the skin of their teeth. 20 Boink secures the best of one, and they're gonna keep moving on. Amazing, emphatic play at the end there. Great play, especially from Kapoww, as they definitely deserve this play of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like a lot of credit also needs to go to Failure. He had an Earth Shatter up his sleeve almost every single time that Legends in the Making thought they were gaining an upper hand. Suddenly an Earth Shatter would come out of nowhere, knock the entire team on their back, and 20 Boink would just clean up off of that. Really strong play coming out from 20 Boink. We are going to take a brief break as we set up for our next round going into the next match, but we will be back momentarily, so don't go anywhere. Once again, you're watching Cow Open number 10. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Arms Race, here with That's Gotta Be Kane, and we'll see you in a few.
And welcome back, everybody. As you may have noticed, there was a little bit of a break. We did a little bit of a switch up. We now got Arms with us instead of Root for right now, so Arms will be with you through the entire night, bouncing between desk and doing play-by-play. So he's just like the man tonight. He's everywhere.
Multitasking is my greatest skill, which means that the two skills that I'm doing can't be my greatest skill. See how that works out?
Well, hey, I mean, at least they seem to be close. You got the voice going for you. So, I know we got to talk a little bit about this last match before we switch you back over. Everything's getting set up in the next round here. So, wow, that last one, 20 Boink coming on strong. If I'm not mistaken, I think that Blank and Disaster are pretty long-term staples of the pro/amateur Overwatch scene. I didn't get a chance to message them directly, but if I remember correctly, we've seen them from a lot of different tournaments in the past. Looks like they've decided to form up and get in this new team.
Yeah, so 20 Boink actually, I just went on Gosu Gamers and did some background research, and they're actually ranked 16th in North America. Actually higher than Elevate, who they're going to be facing in this upcoming match. And yeah, it was obvious by the style of their play when it came to them attacking. Just throwing D.Va mechs out there and then just running in and killing everyone as they're running away from the mech. Just really taking advantage of that chaos.
There was definitely some experience showing. I mean, they managed to stagger the kills for what seemed to be like the first 2/3 of the map. Like right as soon as they went through the arch on attack, I don't think that they managed to get everybody back together really solidly until after the second point. While they were pushing in on the first point was the first time that Legends could get back together. And it was just 20 Boink pushing hard. I mean, Blank was playing some seriously good McCree that game. He was everywhere inside the match.
Yeah, and having staggered respawns is absolutely brutal, and the best situation you can make out of that is forcing the team that's staggering your respawns to use all their ultimates, and 20 Boinks never let those ultimates get used. But we are going to head into the draft now, so let's take a look here.
Yep, and as everybody, just remind everybody, we go ahead and ban out all of the 2-point control maps and all of the King of the Hill maps to go in. So really the first two bans that we have is 20 Boink with Route 66 and Hollywood getting dropped off by Elevate. So we still got Dorado, Watchpoint Gibraltar, Kings Row, and New Bonnie. Are they going to tease us with Nmly again, or you think that it's going to be the next to go?
I think it'll just be a tease if it's anything. Very rare that we go to Nmly. I'd certainly love it. Always appreciate some variety. But I think most likely out of these last 3 picks, King's Row is where we're going to be headed. It is the staple. Although we spent a lot of time on Dorado, and certainly 20 Boink's comfortable there. So I wouldn't be totally caught off guard if that's where we went.
I wouldn't be surprised with Dorado. I mean, that seems to be like the swag way to show how confident you are, is picking Dorado as the map. Go like, yeah, we're fine with the arch, we're fine with the whole point. We think that we can hold you all the way. I mean, we both knew it was coming down to King's Row and Dorado. It's a matter of which way they're going to go now. I'm kind of hoping for King's Row just because I'd love to see King's Row, but like Dorado's got some nice strategical presence that happens inside of it. Strategy is the way to go. So,
yeah, so this will be for swag points too, because you want to be able to make that statement, hold people at the archway. That'll be interesting.
I mean, we've got 2 really good teams. If you guys aren't familiar, Elevate is a very common team, part of the Cow Open. Been competing for quite a while, and now with 20 Boink, it's composed of a whole bunch of teams that have been back together that have pulled back together here recently. So, how do you think that we're going to be looking? Do you think we're going to be seeing the standard comps that you would expect out of? We're going to be seeing McCree, we're going to be seeing Zenyatta, we're going to be seeing Lucio, Reinhardt with the D.Va Zarya combo, or you think that we might see something special coming out here?
I would love to see something special, but I feel like as things get more and more competitive, you're just increasing the likelihood of seeing the more and more meta picks. I've always, prayed and hoped for the situation where we have some team that's just been being carried by some crazy off-meta main that's just doing a fantastic job. But for the most part, these picks are meta for a reason, and it's because of how many situations they can hold their ground on. And, these teams that have been practicing, they're not just practicing for this event, they're practicing together for all the events that they partake in. And so you really want the best combination for all situations. And I think it is the standard comp that we're dealing with. It won't be for long once the next patch comes out and we get some changes to Genji and Zenyatta and Hanzo. But for now, I think it will be the standard picks. But I think that we'll see a much higher caliber, or an incrementally higher caliber of coordination coming out. Especially from Elevate, because they have been an actual, regularly competing team for a little while now. And so it'll be interesting to see how 20 Boink is kind of like a Frankenstein's monster of competitive players. So we'll see if their coordination is able to match up.
Well, that's what I love right now. We're getting to see what looks to be... I'm not sure how long they've been playing together. Whenever I looked over on their history, it looks like they've only been playing together maybe a month in this. I think right around June or something. We'll have to get some questions asked to him. But it's going to be nice to see. We're moving into that caliber of teams now. We're going to see a lot of strategic play. We saw it a lot in the last game where 20 Boink was just moving very decisively, and they were taking like the top of the church. They held the first point for a very long time. And it looks like we're moving into game, so I'm going to pass you back over to Kane. You guys have a great time, and I'll see you here in just a few minutes.
All right, see you later. Okay, so here we are on Dorado. Welcome, everybody. We are here for the semifinals of Cow Open at number 10. I am Arms Race, and with me, it's gotta be Kane. That's gotta be Kane. Kane, how you doing?
Oh man, I'm doing great, and I really want to thank you, for just really double timing it, over there, to that desk, and really, showing off that lovely face, all that lovely Overwatch gear, and generally just, doing what I could not. My vocal cords are really sensitive. My voice, I can't talk a lot. It's not my forte at all. I'm actually a very quiet, soft-spoken person. So when it comes to Yeah. So when it comes to doing casting, I save all of my vocal prowess for the casting. So generally speaking, when it comes outside of casting, I don't talk at all. As in period, I don't talk at any other point of the day, 7 days a week. Just just casting. It's the only time I talk. So thank you so much, my man Arms Race. But we're going to be getting ready for some semi-finals action here with 20 Boink and Elevate. 20 Boink going to be on the blue side, going to be playing Blank, of course, on McCree. Nmly going to be on Lucio. Boink once again on the Zarya. Failure going to be playing Reinhardt. Disaster on Zenyatta, and Kapoww going to be on the Reaper. And on Elevate, my man Arms Race.
Yeah, on Elevate we have Hi-Oh. I can't wait for that in the middle of a fight to be like, Hi-Oh. Hi-Oh's going to be on Zarya. Wowzer on the Lucio. TheBawky on McCree. Jake going to be on Genji. VileVirtues going to be on the Winston. And Wintahhh going to be on that Zenyatta. And right off the gate here, 20 Boink going to be opting for a pretty passive position, hanging out in the back of this market, waiting for the payload to make its way into the arch. And this is exactly where they opted for when the last time we saw them here on Dorado. But a little bit of a different approach coming out from Elevate. They actually opt to come around the well side. Speed boost going to go down. VileVirtues heads in with the barrier. They're going to need to focus down this Reinhardt barrier pretty quickly if they're going to get any damage through. The rest of the teammates taking a lot of damage in the process. High actually gets taken out pretty early on there by Kapoww. Kapoww picks up another kill. Meanwhile, Blank's going to take out Genji on the back, and one by one, Elevate get picked off of this payload. But they've made a decent amount of distance over the entire time, so hopefully they'll be able to regroup and make their way back here with maybe even some ultimates to throw at them.
Yeah, they definitely made some good distance. At the same time, though, I will say I'm pretty curious on 20 Boink deciding not to actually hold off on the arch as they did in the last previous games. They actually did quite well in doing so. Jakefila actually going to go ahead and start moving in right now as TheBawky actually gets a great double kill with that Deadeye, which is going to allow this team to move in right now. Disaster, however, trying to do some damage to control to avoid a disaster right now, and Failure picks up one kill. Wowzer, however, is going to get a nice little lucky shot on Kapoww. Boink and Disaster, however, both getting their own flanks, and looks like the Torpnusek is gonna go out, which is actually just enough to bring in High HD. Though High HD, he goes down. Blank is gonna pick off Wowzer. They're actually gonna hold. 20 Boink is actually opting to hold the marketplace and to typically avoid the arch. This is probably the first time which us casting we've seen 20 Boink decide to say, you know, we're not going to try to put in and exert so much effort on that arch. Because generally speaking, when you revolve your team comp around that arch and they're able to break through, you lose so much of your power. But here they go. Double sound barrier is going to go out. Arms Race, take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. So sound barriers on both sides. Reinhardt's going to collide, but the payload is actually inching its way up. However, Failure gets a massive Earth Shatter onto everyone on the payload. He does manage to take out VileVirtues. Graviton Surge goes down, but Wintahhh throwing down the Transcendence to equal things out. Disaster throws down a Transcendence of his own, going to try and keep Kapoww alive as he throws down the Death Blossom and picks up two. Manages to pick up a third on High HD. And that's going to reclaim this payload here. They have payload control, going to actually even advanced ahead of the payload. And that's some pretty clutch work there by Disaster, keeping Kapoww alive with that Transcendence and re-earning them control of this payload. We can see now Jakefila making his way to the back on the Genji with that nice flank approach. He's going to try and take out Disaster before the fight even gets started, but Blank is back there. Meanwhile, charge comes in from VileVirtues, going to manage to take out Boink. And the payload's moving. TheBawky's on top of it with his Deadeye, going to zone out the rest of 20 Boink here as they secure the first checkpoint.
And this is pretty much to be expected, Arms Race, as we saw Elevate actually had the ultimate prowess in their towers right now, as we saw 20 Boink was at quite the deficit when they were moving in that last point, and that was to be expected almost. You know, when you're that low, you know, on ultimates, you know, you're really just trying to hope for the best without fragging your opponents, trying to get a couple picks before they can engage. And when you're trying to hold the marketplace like that, you know, generally speaking, you need to have, if anything, support ultimates to be able to hold. Disaster, as we've seen, has been doing a great job in keeping up all of their heroes at those very clutch moments, as we've seen. But, you know, when your entire team has no offense and you don't even have the support, you know, you really give the advantage over the Elevate. So as we're seeing right now, 20 Boink has been moving in to just try to hold the church and hold the high ground. The Deadeye comes out from Blank, but of course hits absolutely nothing. I guess you could say he draws a blank, but as TheBawky is going to try to return as he moves in, but Disaster with the amazing snipe. Failure is going to move in with the Earth Shatter as he takes out the entirety of Team Elevate, enough to allow the rest of the offensive, defensive, counter-offensive, as it were, 20 Boink to move in and get off more kills. Disaster is actually starting to pick up a lot of frags, and as we're starting to see right now, Boink and Disaster both have their ultimates, along with Kapoww reaching in to try to get his. Death Blossom will be available for this next team fight. And now we're starting to see.
That's why people love playing Zenyatta as a support, because he is able to do the damage and get those snipes out from a distance. Graviton Surge comes down from Boink. It catches the entire team, but there's a barrier in the way. Failure is going to charge VileVirtues all the way into the back of his own team while they get caught in a sound barrier themselves. Jakefila going to just absolutely chop up the rest of 20 Boink into chaos. And Blank is the only one left remaining. He goes down to high D as well. And that looks like it should secure Elevate this second checkpoint here.
It's going to secure that checkpoint. Honestly, we could have seen a lot better play coming in from there, but as we saw, there was that early frag, which didn't really allow for Kapoww to really drop in, getting the kind of damage they needed. They had to torp this up with not a whole lot of continuation or follow-up with that counter-offensive, which is definitely going to allow that second checkpoint to get secured by Team Elevate. And now, as you can see, they're just starting to reset, which is probably everything that you need to do in a situation like this. You know, when you fall back, don't try to get any early frags. Fill up your positions, get the high ground. Right now, 20 Boink is doing a really great job in holding that high ground. However, they have no initiation. Kapoww and Blank are the only ones with offense, and once again, Blank with a desperate attempt in trying to get some kind of damage to keep this payload from moving, to really get Elevate, to really kind of rethink how they're going in. But right now, a second waste ult coming in from Blank, and that's not going to get anything. This is going to allow for Elevate to really kind of, you know, reassess how they want to move in. It looks like they're going to try to meet 20 Boink on even ground.
TheBawky throwing out a Deadeye from the distance here. I don't know how many people it's going to catch. Maybe it might have been able to catch the Zarya, but he's just too far away. Barriers and shields up, protecting the majority of 20 Boink as the sound barrier comes down for the defenders. VileVirtues tries to get into the back line. Graviton Surge going to catch out the Reaper and Reinhardt on the second level, but the payload is moving this entire time. 20 Boink makes their way down to the payload to try and contest, but VileVirtues lands an Earthshatter on Failure. And that'll be no Reinhardt barrier here for 20 Boink as VileVirtues makes the approach. Sound barrier comes down on the side of Elevate as they get caught in Graviton Surge, but there's no damage heading the way of those team members. Meanwhile, Jakefila throws out the Dragon Blade, slicing and dicing at the back line, does manage to pick up two. Kapoww doing his own job on the back line of Elevate, however. Blank manages to pick up Wowzer and TheBawky as the tide of this team fight is starting to go the way of 20 Boink. And the rest of Elevate start to make their way back here.
And it looks like 20 Boink is in fact going to hold on. High D, of course, only getting so much before he's finally taken down. It's going to force them to move back. We're seeing 3 ultimates right now from 20 Boink. Once again, all the support ultimates have been used in the fact of just trying to hold off what they can. VileVirtues trying to corral and rally his team to get to him, saying, hey, come with me. Let's push this payload while they're all moving up. And there you go, Kapoww, a little too hasty and trying to get those kills. And look, you can obviously tell they were also trying to keep aware of that high ground pressure. And it looks like they were able to bait that out. That's going to be a whole lot less power moving in as the Earthshatter is going to get dropped from Failure. And that's going to give 20 Boink the opportunity to move in. And there you have it right now. Jakefila is going to go ahead and pop the Dragon Blade to try to pick off some kills, but gets failed by the returning Kapoww. Boink is going to move in, taking out High D as High Distortion does in fact fall. Elevate is going to start 20 Boink is going to start holding this as Elevate is struggling to regroup. 30 seconds left on the timer right now as both teams have both offensive to an offensive defensive. And given the fact of what we're seeing right now, Disaster and Boink hold the high ground when it comes to the defensive counter-offensive push, whereas High D and TheBawky are the only ones to hold an offensive. And when you try to use a High Noon, or a Deadeye rather, against a Disaster Tranquility, you're going to have a whole hell of a lot more time trying to get that load off.
Massive Graviton Surge is going to cash out both the supports before the fight even starts. Blank finishes off both the offensive heroes, and this is just a disastrous start to the team fight for Elevate. They do manage to pick up a few kills of their own, but it's not going to be enough. No team members alive in time to keep this overtime going, and Elevate will end the round with 2 points on their side, leaving a little bit of wiggle room for 20 Boink to take this first map here with 3 points of their own. And very interesting end. The last team fight both of them rather haphazard. VileVirtues got caught out very early on his charge the first time that Elevate initiated, and then when they got initiated upon, they lost both their supports right at the beginning. Absolutely brutal. And there's just really not too much that your team can expect to do once they can no longer receive any heals or barriers or anything of that sort.
Definitely.
But 20 Boink will make the attack now, and they will be on the blue side, looking to get the 3rd point. Once again, this is the semifinal, so it will be a best of 3. And so they are not fighting for their tournament lives, but certainly you want to lock down the 1st point as early as possible.
It's around this time, Arms Race, that teams start to really get that feel for each other here in the semifinals. You know, you do have, in fact, a lot of chances to really just kind of feel up the other team, get an idea of what they're going to be bringing at you. You now have an idea of how each of the members are running their compositions, and so you now, at this point, need to learn to adapt, and that is the key word, coordination, and, of course, adapting to what the enemy team is going to be bringing out at you. This, of course, is not match point for any team right now, though it is one of those wake-up calls. I would really like to see Elevate, you know, when they start moving in, or rather, yes, when Elevate starts holding on this defense, you know, I'm really curious on what they're going to see. You know, High D on the Zarya really didn't necessarily bring out as much as I'm pretty sure they would have liked. You know, they had a lot of Torment Steals go out, but a whole lot of offense was lacking when it came to the counter offense, when it came to following through those gravity surges. So I would really like to see how exactly they're going to be able to utilize the Roadhog, seeing as High D is now going to be using, of course, the Roadhog. 20 Boink essentially keeping the same composition as they had on defense, just now translating that to an offensive set.
Yeah, it looks like Elevate's doing a little bit of adapting themselves. Jakefila swapping onto Reaper from the Genji, and High D playing that Roadhog, as you said. Wowzer does manage to pick off Nmly from the back line. VileVirtues is actually going to pick up Failure, and that's a pretty even numbers disadvantage, so no one side winning out too surely. Kapoww, however, does manage to pick off a few in the offensive line, picking up huge on the side of Elevate. And that's going to earn them some leeway with this payload here. They've got a lot of room to work with as most of the team is respawning. I wonder if even enough of the team members will be able to make it back in time to contest this first checkpoint here. Oh yeah, and it looks like they will. Speed boost from Lucio comes out, and VileVirtues does manage to get on the point, but High D falls super early to Kapow's Reaper. Jakefila looks like he's trying to get into the back line. Meanwhile, Reinhardt v. Reinhardt is going to go the way of 20 Boink as they start forcing off the rest of the team, and they will secure this first checkpoint.
They're going to secure that first checkpoint, and what we saw at the very end there was a lot of funneling in from Elevate. I honestly am curious exactly on how they're going to continue this counter-defensive, because now that we're seeing they're funneling in on the church right now to try to hold the high ground, but they're only having 2. They're all really kind of rushing to get on, and funnily enough, the payload wasn't moving for a while. As 20 Boink, I guess you could say, kind of spread out, trying to see how they were going to move out. They could have had that payload move a little bit as Elevate was taking their time to move on. But TheBawky, however, going to see if he can fish out some kills using his Deadeye, but he doesn't get much. Blank is going to, however, flank off and take out VileVirtues, which is going to allow this push to go in right now. Disaster with a very offensive Tranquility, allowing his team to move up pretty much easy peasy. Blank having gotten another double kill, which is really going to allow for all of 20 Boink to just move up uncontested. And this payload is moving on pretty much pure powerful turbulence, you know, uncontested, just moving forward. And it looks like without even a full team fight having been ushered in, they're going to be going in, and there goes the Torment Steal, the entirety of all of Elevate being sucked in, and that is just going to be the entirety of their team getting taken out before they can even begin. VileVirtues with a successful charge against Failure on the payload, but not enough power to make do for that lack of delayed second before he can attack back. And that entire second checkpoint was grabbed without hardly any contestation by
it worked
Team
out really
20
well for 20 Boink. They actually managed to counter TheBawky's Deadeye and then kill Jakefila before he could get off his Death Blossom. And so with no offensive ults on the side of Elevate, they really had no threats that would require them to use any ults of their own, which meant they were fully stacked when Elevate returned to contest the checkpoint. And then that Graviton Surge just gathering up most of Elevate and they get chewed up in the process. The payload going to be moved by Kapoww here as the rest of the team takes the upper ground. Offensive sound barrier goes down. Both sides have sound barriers now. Jakefila picks up Blank with the Death Blossom, but not much else as Failure takes him out. VileVirtues going to charge into the back and take out Disaster, but the payload is moving and it's almost at its end destination. Wowzer and TheBawky going to contest the payload against Kapoww and Nmly right now, but the rest of Elevate is finding their way back. Graviton Surge is going to catch them both out, and they'll be taken out very swiftly here. And so they just managed to keep 20 Boink from completing this payload track here. Very good to have that type of focus in the middle of the chaos. They could have easily forgotten about the checkpoint, and it looks like they almost did there. So
they just about missed it. And as we saw from before, 20 Boink, they're doing a really good job in continuing up their offensive pressure, though we're starting to see now here in this more closing quarter, they're having a harder time in, really kind of cinching it, though at the same time, it looks like they're going to be moving in. They're getting that payload in. My goodness, Failure with the Earth Shatter, which is going to take out so many, and this is going to have all of the Elevate is just going to fail entirely in trying to get on that point right now. Jakefila having switched to the Tracer, but it's not going to do any good as he completely just falls away from the payload. I would have to say that last play of the game definitely went to Failure with that amazing Earth Shatter on the high ground, completely not only just wiping out the team, but keeping them from actually getting on the point when the time mattered for them to just stop moving that payload.
Yeah, the Earth Shatter doing a really great job of keeping the team from focusing any one particular player. This play of the game, of course, going to be from the attack. Jakefila just slicing and dicing with the help of that Graviton Surge coming out from high D. And so that's going to be a victory on the side of 20 Boink. So that will set them up 1-0 in this best of 3. And I believe we will be heading to King's Row next to see potentially who will get match point here.
Definitely. King's Row is going to be the next map, the map that we all know and love, the map that we read to our children before bedtime. And it's going to, of course, again, be 20 Boink, which will be, in fact, on the red team against Elevate, which will be on the blue team as we move on to King's Row here in just a moment. But I would really like to get back into it. Tell me, Armsrace, what are you thinking right now of Failure's successful executions of these Earth Shatters? We're seeing Earth Shatters, popping, coming out like popcorn, really. I mean, they're all over the place. We're seeing Earth Shatters left and right, and I'm curious, what are your thoughts right now on 20 Boink's Failure, and then also, what are you thinking on what Elevate needs to do if they really want to keep themselves alive here?
Well, so on the side of Failure, there's two ways to conceptualize the use of a Reinhardt ulti, and the first way is as an initiation. And if you think of a Reinhardt ult as an initiation, then your first impulse is going to be to try and use it when you catch as many members as possible. And sometimes players can get tripped up by that because they spend so much time looking for the large group of players that they'll throw it down even when it's obvious and the rest of the team is expecting it, and some barrier is going to come down and block it from happening. But I think what Failure is particularly adept at doing is he's looking for not the time where the most enemies are clumped up. He's looking for the time when they're paying the least attention for whether or not an Earth Shatter is coming out. As soon as the rest of his teams snuck out from the bottom level there on Dorado, he knew that the defenders on the upper level had lost focus on him, and he threw down an Earth Shatter and caught them out and kept them from participating in the fight whatsoever. And he's been doing that time and time again. It's really fantastic on his part. As far as Elevate is concerned, I think they played pretty strongly for the majority of the time. I think that they may want to consider opting for someone else besides a Roadhog on high D, because you're going to need more barriers if they're going to want to keep that Earth Shatter from slipping them up. And so I'd like to see them make the choice to do that switch. However, maybe they won't have as much trouble right now. They are opting to stick with that Roadhog pick. It can be useful. It's really important to be able to catch out the offensive heroes before they do too much damage to your back line. Roadhog is exceptional at doing that. But with Failure having such a large impact with these Earth Shatters, you'd think they want to have more to prevent it.
I can definitely see that happening, and right now we're looking at Boink, of course, going to be playing with the Zarya as the team starts to set up. We had a Widowmaker for a moment, I'm guessing maybe to scout, perhaps even scare, even maybe allow for one of those teammates to kind of move back, but Heidi is going to get a successful pull-off and taking down Blank as Wintahhh takes out Disaster, and it was a nice Zenyatta battle. Heidi getting another hit, so perhaps we're starting to see a nice change of pace right now as Elevate starts to get the kind of damage and delivery that they need from Heidi's Roadhog. A really great start and pretty much entirely piecemealing 20 Boink with that first initiation. It's going to force them back to get behind that bus so they can move in for a second time around.
That team fight confused me at first because all of a sudden all the attacking team was on the opposite side of the point. But here they come again, charging in. Failure is going to try and knock down this Reinhardt barrier. VileVirtues misses on the charge while TheBawky picks up 2. It's going to take down most of Elevate, but Failure once again doing work here, picking up a double kill for himself. Blank follows through with a double kill of his own, triple kill there, as they start to put some effort onto contesting this point and taking it. TheBawky's the only one left, and he is finally going to go down.
He is going to go down indeed. And it looks like most of Elevate is in fact going to go ahead and start falling back as they allow themselves to really just kind of take up reins on behind the point. What we noticed there, or at least what I noticed there a lot, was we had a very offset kind of initiation. As you can tell during that first launch, we had the Widowmaker in the beginning when 20 Boink started to move on. So they had to wait for all their team to crowd together, but they kind of, I guess you could say, they got a little hasty when they first went in. As we can see, if you look around, Jakefila is actually going to try moving on, try to get a Kapoww. I don't think he's going to expect this, and he just in time pops Shadow so they can go ahead and get away. But now he's going to be desperate for a couple bits of health right there. Jakefila not getting what he needed. But like I was saying, they didn't really get the most offensive pushes they wanted. They were a bit hasty when first moving out, but that second time when they got all together, it all happened the way they needed. And there you have it right now. Blank gonna go out with the dead man's Deadeye, but doesn't really get much. TheBawky is gonna take him out, but Failure, Kapoww, and Boink each getting their own right now, as all of 20 Boink is able to precisely take out who they need to right now. Wintahhh's Tranquility does not get much, as he's gonna get picked off by Disaster, and once again, it was just all over the place for Elevate. They weren't really where they needed to be at the moment. It's like you were saying before, the moment Elevate really just kind of had their attention away from Failure and the team, they just pounced right then and there, and they swarmed them. And now we have double Earth Shatters coming out from both sides, but it looks like both are missing right now. Jakefila is, however, going to be able to take out Blank, but Nmly and the rest of 20 Boink are, in fact, going to keep sweeping up. They're trying to continue the charge right now, getting as many frags as they can just to hold off, but in my opinion, they are likely better off in just keeping this point away. Let 20 Boink take this point right now to secure that first checkpoint as they start to move on. Right now, Elevate looks like they're trying to hold off as best they can, trying to get in some position, maybe even making some last-minute switches right now. Jakefila actually going to switch off of the Reaper and go back to the comfort pick of Genji, hoping to get some kind of differences right now. Heidi even switching off right now to try to play more of the Zarya to get off as many kills they want. The Tortoise are going to come off as all of the team is taken in. Failure and the rest of the boys going in, and he's also going to get orbed right now with the Discord, but he's still going to keep up the power as that Earthshatter takes out and incapacitates the rest of Elevate's team right now. They are smooth sailing over here towards the point with 5 minutes left to spare, and Elevate aren't actually going out right now. They shouldn't be wasting time. They need to get to contest that point right now as VileVirtues desperately goes out right now. TheBawky getting 1 kill on Kapoww as Blank returns with the Virtues, but Nmly, of course, moving in with the sound barrier to hopefully get the rest of his team whatever needed damage mitigation just so that they can clean up. The payload is going to start moving if Wowzer falls. Wintahhh and the rest of Elevate need to keep moving before they go on. 1.16 of a meter before they're able to move on, and Wintahhh is able to throw out a saving grace Tranquility to try to keep his team up, but I don't know if it's gonna last. Kapow's Death Blossom, and it doesn't. Jakefila is taken down while Boink takes out the rest of Wintahhh, but it looks like Elevate is in fact gonna try holding off. But do they have enough power? VileHD and Wowzer's the only one alive. Kapoww and Nmly also trying to dance as the lack of offense starts to dwindle right now. Jakefila with the comfort pick, going in with the Dragon Blade as he picks up a few kills, but he remains off the point for a split of a second, which allows for that 1.16 meter to go through. 20 Boink steals a win right at the last second. That's going to put them for match point. My gosh, arms race.
Yeah, that's a really brutal in that situation where you end up tunnel visioning on the Genji. Jakefila whips out that Dragon Blade, gets a bunch of kills. He's hungry for more, so he ends up walking away from the payload. And Failure is happy to just charge it on that payload and keep it moving, securing that final round there. So now we do have Elevate are going to have to take all 3 points and take it to a tiebreaker on King of the Hill if they want to maintain their chance in the semifinal. And that, once again, I was talking earlier about how if they wanted to deal with Failure's Earth Shatters, they were going to need to switch onto a Zarya. And that Zarya switch did eventually come in, but it was too little too late. And High D ended up walking right into a Graviton Surge with the rest of his team once he had switched to Zarya. And by that point, the payload was already at the end of the map. This time, it does look like they're going to opt for the Zarya pick right off the bat. I'd be interested to see. Jakefila is actually switching back onto Reaper. So it looks like that Genji pick was really just for contesting at the end of the previous round. And so we'll see how they do on attack.
Definitely, and as we're looking right now, Elevate, you know, yes, definitely going to go with the Zarya pick off the bat. As we saw, they were able to get a whole lot more off with the Zarya, but they, of course, came in with it a little bit too late to really kind of hold. We'll see if, with this first point, now that they're going with the pure, you know, Tormasuck quality, you know, both VileVirtues and High D, as we've seen in the past, you know, when they really get those spearheaded punctures off, they're able to commit a lot of damage. And as we're seeing now, both teams are going to move in. Hopefully, we're going to see Jakefila once again on the Reaper, trying to get off those really great picks as he has a lot of momentum and accessibility with this first point. We can see right now Disaster actually really getting comfortable up there at the point, the high hotel point, as he's trying to get as much sniping distance as he can. TheBawky actually finding himself under contention with Disaster right now, and every habit he's going to take out TheBawky. Nmly is going to take out VileVirtues as Kapoww also gets a nice kill off. And right now, 20 Boink not allowing for the really kind of toss and turning power that Elevate had. They're trying to move around, get a nice flank, trying to get a nice surround on him, but 20 Boink not allowing that just yet.
Yeah, you know, it was interesting because when 20 Boink was on the defense, they got absolutely turned around because, when 20 Boink was on offense, they turned around the enemy team by getting behind the capture point. But this time, Elevate's just opting for go around on the shuttle side, on the statue side, and it's just completely destroying them. They're just lining up for Failure's Earth Shatter, his charge. He's just absolutely doing work on the attacking team here. Really difficult. We should expect Elevate to come with a change of pace for this next approach. They're going to have to choose a different path because opting for that statue is just not working out for them. And here we go. They do opt to go through the tunnel. Now they're on the back side of the checkpoint. Lots of damage coming through on that barrier, and VileVirtues is going to lose the barrier. Now they're all behind the archway of the point they're supposed to be attacking. Jakefila does manage to shadow step up onto the upper level, gets the backside of Kapoww, and does manage to take him down. Disaster throws down to Transcendence. Transcendence is on both sides as Failure swinging his hammer through the team. Jakefila picks up a double kill, triple kill as he takes down Failure. And slowly but surely, it looks like Elevate are going to force people off the point. They get caught in a Graviton Surge, however, but there's not too much damage to follow through on it. So the remaining 3 members of Elevate are going to get caught up with VileVirtues and finish off the rest of the defenders here, finally start capturing the point for themselves. And yeah, changing their pathing, opting for that back approach, a little unconventional, a little surprising to see them go so far behind the capture point, but it worked out big for them. They got a pretty advantageous position, most likely because 20 Boink had never really dealt with defending from such a position before.
It's actually kind of funny that you mentioned that earlier. You know, people usually go through, of course, the hotel. Most of the time, they want to get that power bonus. They want to get that boost. And they want to really be able to make do with that power. I would have honestly really liked to see them kind of take their time. By taking their time, I mean Elevate, by maybe activating that speed boost once they got out of the elevator to really allow for that spearheaded comp to go through. But they did really well right now. As you can see right now, they have the ultimate power. As right now, the red team is at a deficit, and they're letting them know right now. 20 Boink Boink is getting absolutely piecemealed. Elevate is just going to absolutely steamroll them, going through the rest of the pub to ensure that they get every last bit, trying to pick out the 20 Boink in between their teeth. Bawky taking out Blank as they go ahead. They're trying to immediately get out of this alleyway, as this does not usually bode well for most attackers if they allow themselves to get pretty much, you know, bottled up in that narrow passage. But you know, giving 20 Boinks just immediate wipeout. They're not going to try to contest this first checkpoint, and they're going to start moving in, and hopefully it seems like Elevate is going to have it, but perhaps you might see a contestation after all. But I'm pretty sure 20 Boinks might know it's pretty risky.
Here. Yeah, 20 Boinks starting to approach before it even makes the checkpoint. Now they are starting to back off, however. And it looks like Elevate is going to take up the aggressive side here as they start to advance around the corner when the payload is not even close. ID does manage to take out Disaster. Jakefila trying to do some work onto the defenders here, but the payload is way behind them, so they're going to back up, give it some distance, let it catch up to where the rest of the team is aggressing as 20 Boink start posturing at this endpoint here. And this is going perfectly for Elevate. This is exactly where they needed to be. Flashbang is going to take VileVirtues out, but he puts up his barrier enough to cancel the Earth Shatter. Graviton Surge catches out most of Elevate, but the Transcendent's going to cancel out any damage that is dealt in the meantime. However, this payload has no one contesting, so it will continue moving forward. Blank throws down a Deadeye, but there's really no one there. They back off. The rest of Elevate's going to join up with their resurrecting team members. And they have some decent ultis now to work with, and they should be quickly running into their next engage with this ultimate advantage that they have.
Arms race, they have all the tools, and here, just like you say, here come the speed boost as well as the Earth Shatter moving directly after Failure, not allowing him to really get anything done, but Disaster with an amazing tranquility to keep him safe, but the Torment Suck, it's not gonna let him happen. Failure is desperately holding to the wall with an almost broken shield and a Discord Orb on him right now. Wowzer is doing everything he can to try to get that payload moving just 1.3 of a meter, but it's not gonna let him happen right now. They are gonna be able to hold right now, but it looks like Elevate is gonna fall back. They don't want any more frags happening, and you know what? That's actually a shame because they actually had all the ultimates that they needed. As we saw, 20 Boink was at a pretty high deficit, but as they're starting to return with 3.5 minutes remaining, they're going to have 3 ultimates in comparison to not a single one being ult except for Wintahhh. But here they go. They're going to move in. The Torment Steel is going to go down. All of the high DPS and tank classes of Elevate are going to get tucked in. That's Failure gets a kill. Kapoww moves in with the double. Jakefila desperately moving out with the high blade to try to get a kill out, and he does get one on Boink, but it's not gonna be enough to get this team to get broken. This payload needs to move. It is very close to actually moving in at that point. Just 1.3 of a second, or of a meter rather, to move on in, but it is going to force Elevate to move on back in. They have Wintahhh and Jakefila's ultimates to move in. It is now 2-2, a support and a damage. Failure having to show a whole lot of adaptation and utilization with his Earth Shatter. He can use this to completely disparage and disreparate your team, or he can use it at the perfect Earth Shattering moment. VileVirtues and crew know that they have to make this offensive push count, and they have to move in now.
Boost. Sound barrier comes from the defending team. Failure catches most of the attackers with an Earth Shatter, and he does manage to charge High D into the wall there. Now he's just swinging his hammer all over the Bawky, manages to take him out as well. Lucio going to head for the hills, backing up to join the rest of Elevate there. And Elevate, you know, that their momentum has been completely messed with now. The rest of the defenders ganging up ahead of this payload here. Failure landing some pretty valuable Earth Shatters, taking out some key components of Elevate's offense way earlier than they want. Kapoww going to throw out a Death Blossom, gonna pick up 3 right in the back line. Absolutely brutal. Both supports and an offensive hero go down to Kapoww. He picks up High D as well, and now 20 Boink are in full force here, aggressing way ahead of the payload, happy to capitalize on the advantages that Kapoww earned them. And Elevate really needs to start rethinking their approach here.
It's definitely one of the advantages you have, though, when you are, in fact, on the defense. You don't have to be on the payload to keep it from moving back. So as we're seeing right now, it's like you said, momentum right now is fully in 20 Boink's possession right now as he gets a perfect kill off of Wowzer, who was so close to getting that sound barrier. It's going to force the entirety of Elevate to start moving back. The payload now nowhere even close to the finishing checkpoint right now, as we're looking at an entire team fight deficit to get that point moving in right now. A minute is remaining as 20 Boink is getting another pick off. Blank and Failure doing great shield posturing, not allowing your shield to get too low, is not afraid to take a couple damage boosts that of course Nmly cannot go ahead and repair. So shield is at great health, his health alone is at cap, and they're gonna move in again. The Torment Suck is going down, sound barriers from each team are gonna move in, but the Earth Shatter from Failure is gonna come out ahead as he goes ahead and kicks off another kill. Blank and Kapoww getting perfect frags off. Disaster getting an amazing Discord orb right down on Nmly as he, or rather not Nmly, Wowzer, as he also goes down. And with just 30 seconds left remaining, Elevate have lost all momentum. This is going to be their last gasp. 4 ultimates to 2. They could not have the favors anymore on their side. They have to get it now.
There's the Earth Shatter from VileVirtues. It's only going to pick up a few. Jakefila heads into the back, but Failure picks him off. Transcendence comes down from Wintahhh. Both sides now gaining the healing boost from that Transcendence. Failure and Kapoww just wiping through the attacking team as the Death Blossom's going to clean up the majority of them. Now Failure is aggressing all the way up to that second checkpoint there just to make sure that Elevate can't connect with this overtime chance. And that will be a 2-0 victory here for 20 Boink. Very resounding play from them, and they will make their way on to the semifinals.
That, what we saw, was amazing. And once again, like we saw here, Failure was just showing utter success when moving in with these Earth Shatters, when coming in. Look at this, such amazing prowess as he is able to take out and dish out so much damage initiation. He alone was a single-handed threaded of a threat to all of Elevate, completely stopping their momentum as they got one team fight after another. And as we saw their momentum shift, we saw that same bit of communication and coordination slowly start to fade, and the momentum shift immediately. But that is definitely going to be an amazing first round semifinals coming in. Your winners, of course, 20 Boink taking it 2-0. My name is That's Gotta Be Kane, and I'm casting here with my man Arms Race, and we're going to go ahead and take it back to the desk. Matchroom, back to you.
Oh, what's up? I'm back here with the Omnicaster that is Arms Race. Oh, dude. It is no surprise that Failure got played with the game there. That man earned his gold hammer, and it seemed like, I was expecting to be talking a lot about Blank and Kapoww, Disaster, but Failure just was going crazy both those two games. It was... I don't even know. I wish we could have gotten a kill feed for how many times he was like the person that was standing there just dishing out damage. Like that last Toblestein where you just saw him. He was just sitting there swinging away and then turns around and was like, nah, by the way, I'm going to kill you two guys over there too. Here's an Earth Shatter. Let me just walk through it. Let's go ahead and push it through.
Yeah, that was such a funny instance because I was actually pretty much even ultimates on both sides, coming in both directions, and the only thing that really made a difference between the two sides was that Earth Shatter coming out from Failure. And yeah, he was just doing an incredible job there. And Kapoww and Blank definitely putting in some work for themselves, but I'd have to say that as an offensive hero, your job picking up kills gets extremely easier when your front line is able to cause such a problem that the enemy team is constantly distracted or completely displaced, knocked prone because of his incredible ultimates. It really all came together well.
He was essentially a third damage dealer for most of that time. Like, there was one time I saw, it was something interesting I hadn't seen a lot, and now I'm going to steal. So thanks, Failure. Appreciate that you showing me this. But on King's Row, there's the statue that's sitting there. Whenever they were playing defense, he jumped up on a little ledge, jumped up on another ledge, and ended up standing up next to the statue, and then threw his damage right through. Like there was like the top of the fence, and just cut right over that and hit two people, and he just jumps back down. Like, thanks for the ult charge, bros. Appreciate it.
Yeah, another interesting play that I wanted to highlight was actually from Nmly, who was playing Lucio the majority of the time, but both times we've seen them attack on Dorado after the first checkpoint. Whenever the defending team has the entire group on that second ledge, he actually wall climbs up to a tiny little ledge on the front face of the chapel and then jumps onto the second level and tries to boot the whole team off. I saw him do it twice in the course of the 2 games they played on Dorado, and it was absolutely hysterical.
I mean,
such a smart use of his abilities there.
There was a lot of really interesting plays in that. Like, there was 2 things that Elevate did that I thought was interesting. One worked for him, one didn't work so well for him. The one that did work for him was on King's Row. Whenever they blew Lucio Speed Burst, and they were going for point A, and they went through the hotel, and then they went all the way back to like closer towards the spawn, reset back up, and then came back through. Like, you could tell that like Boink was like, wait, what is going on here? Why did they go that way?
I was like that too.
And it caught him completely off guard, and it worked phenomenally well. But the other point was whenever it was playing Dorado, and they were defending, and Elevate went all the way back near spawn, instead of holding like the Demon Arch that we've kind of come to hate and love at the same time. They went down and were hanging out near spawn, waited for Boink to push up, and then like move into that stairwell or that street area. And then Elevate just popped up with Lucio Speed Burst and was like, I guess, hoping to get a couple free kills and get some like ult charge out of it. That one didn't go in their favor. I liked the idea. The premise was really cool. Like, hey, let's just surprise them because no one ever holds here. But it didn't work so well there. So it was nice to see them and try to innovate twice, and at least one of them worked really well for them.
Yeah, it was nice to see them, try and, do some different approaches. I thought the cool thing about the time that they did get behind the point on King's Row, when they went all the way behind the point through the archway, practically in the streets phase all by themselves, was you would think that was like almost an accident, right? But you could tell that it wasn't, because Jakefila was on Reaper, and as soon as they got behind there, the first thing he does is shadow step up to the window up on the 2nd level, and he dropped down right down onto Kapoww and took him out like right at the beginning of that fight, which is probably one of the main reasons that it went so well in their favor. So they definitely knew what to do once they got into that situation, even if maybe I didn't.
Dude, I got super hyped whenever I saw Kapoww teleport up. I was like, oh my god, does he have ultimate? Or is he like, are they gonna like surprise drop down from that? He only had like 70% when he jumped up there, but there was a part of me for a second that was like, this might be one of the coolest like special plays that I've seen. Makes me wonder if maybe they were trying to build some ult charges they went through there, and that's maybe the premise behind doing it. I don't know, but it was a really cool play, and while it didn't net them the win, I have to give them some kudos for that. That I think that made everybody kind of tilt their heads and go, oh, okay, that was pretty well thought out.
Yeah. So it looks like we're still waiting on results from the other semifinal. Was between D.VA 1, Bad Guy 0, and Make It Quick. I don't see any results here on the bracket, but so I guess they didn't make it as quick as they wanted.
Oh, you beat me to the pun. I was gonna go for the joke. Make it quick. You're failing us. So D.VA 1, Bad Guy 0 is a team that we followed last week, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. They made it pretty far into there. Actually, did they make it all the way to the finals, if I remember correctly?
They made it right up to whenever they met Gecko Fox, and then they got taken out in Gecko Fox
That's
1.
right. They made it in this Simba, maybe. But I'm really excited about this match. They were a really solid team. They played very well together last time. They're going to have their work cut out for them playing against 20 Boink, though. I mean, so far, it seems like every round that we followed them, I've been impressed with a different section of their team. Like, first off, I was kind of like, okay, their damage dealers are amazing. Like, Blank and Kapoww were just doing great. I've been impressed with Disaster and is it Nmly or is it Nmly? How are we supposed to?
I've just been saying Nmly. Yeah.
Nmly. All right, then we'll go with that from this point forward.
No vowels allowed, and sometimes
we'll just kind of growl.
Yeah.
But there was I don't know. Like, there's so many good players on 20 Boink, and they're playing with a lot of synergy. Like, for a team that seems to be fairly new in regards to the semi-pro, pro level area that they're playing at, I've been very surprised with how well they work together. And I don't know if it's maybe just failure provides that engine that they can push behind, and so it makes coordination easy, or if it's just the team clicked that well. Because I mean, there's got to be some great communication that's going on in that team.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'd be interested if the rest of the team sees failure as the same type of like rock of the team that we see him as from a spectator point of view. just because everybody really is shining in their own particular roles. But that Earthshatter, it's loud and it affects a lot of people. So I wonder if every single time he Earthshatters, the rest of his team is like, "Whoa, that Earthshatter!" Yeah, that'd be pretty funny. Oh yeah, and before we transition into the finals here, just want to plug one more time, guys. If you haven't already used your code for a free donation to Matcherino, go and do that now. We have an $82 prize pool right now, and so yeah, let's try and get that up to help support these guys. They've been showing us some pretty amazing play, so definitely any prize pool that we're able to raise, I think these guys certainly have shown that they deserve it.
I mean, yeah, come on, guys. It's free. Just do it. Just gotta sign in. It's just Cal10, COW10. Just hop in. It's super simple. I mean, you're sitting here listening to us talk. It's not like you're gonna miss anything. We'll let you know when the next matches start up. It'll be fine. So now we're getting into the gritty of it. We know that exactly what teams that we're dealing with. We know that we're going to be playing with staple meta. We know it's probably going to be Kings Row, Dorado. Although we had a chance. We had a chance.
I know, if at round 3, it could have been Nmly. So close, yet so far.
All I desire is just like for a taste of a new map for just a millisecond. Maybe we'll get a. Because remember, we do play competitive mode. Everybody in Twitch chat. So whenever we end up with both teams getting all the way to the end of the payload map, we will be playing. They will allow the coin flip to happen. And then we will allow whoever wins the coin flip to pick a King of the Hill map, and we'll play one round on that. So that's how we'll end up with King of the Hill if we see it. Normally, we ban out all of the King of the Hill and all of the 2-point control maps.
Yeah, and it's been pretty interesting because I felt like from the casting side of things, the past couple of events we've done, these past few Fridays, the majority of the rounds, we've ended up going to a King of the Hill or 2 tiebreaker. But this time, it's been pretty decisive.
Yeah. I guess that mainly everybody's starting to get everybody's hopping on the PTR and they're getting used to the new stylings of the time bank system. So
right, yep.
People are starting to. I've noticed that people seem to have slowed down a little bit. Like teams aren't like charging as much as they used to. Like that play that Elevate did, where they took that extra 10 or 15 seconds to reposition behind point A on King's Row. That was something that you might not have seen during stopwatch before. So. I'm hoping that we're going to start seeing this stretch more and more into the play styles of how Overwatch is going to be played, to where people are going to try to play a little bit slower and a little bit more decisively, rather than, oh my god, we got to get on there right now.
Yeah, I hope that things end up taking that direction, just because I think from a caster side, there's so much more that we can bring to you guys, the viewers, if we have some more time in between, as opposed to it's just like, everybody jump on the payload and see who dies, and whoever dies, come back as soon as possible, and the fight just and goes into this huge cycle. Having some downtime in between, that type of pacing, I think we can do some pretty thorough exposition of these matches, which I'd be really excited for.
Yeah, it's nice to finally start getting some feels for everything that's going on. I'm kind of curious as to how, like, I can't wait for the first time banked system to be played in a professional matches. I want to, because like, you're getting all, Reddit being Reddit. They're just like, oh my god, there's gonna be tiles everywhere, and oh my god,
what do you mean there's gonna be change? No change allowed.
No change. We can't do anything. Never. Can't allow, like, but I mean, I'm really digging the changes that Blizzard's putting in. It's obvious that they have the way that they feel the game should be played, and they're trying to also meet in the middle with how the players want the game to be played. And I think that this next stage feels more like how a competitive mode should feel, like with the changes to the rank system and the time bank system. Everybody's going to have an idea of how to move through the system a lot better and know how to place and how to step forward and have their own.
Yeah, I just had my first draw in a competitive game, and it was so satisfying to have it happen. Because it had been such a struggle on both sides, attacking and defending, that if it had ended up as a loss, I just would have been so devastated. And so to see that draw come up on the screen, I was like, yes, it's not necessarily a loss. So that's been really good.
Oh, dude, we all know
my PTR experiences.
You get that tilt factor that happens whenever you like have this hard fought match that's like lasting forever, and then like one person, usually the Mercy kind of like steps out of the wrong spot and then gets killed, and then you're like, oh, well, there goes our res, now we lose.
No res.
And you're tilted for the next 5 games, and you drop 30 ranks. And it's always that one game that goes a little bit too long.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I did want to follow up, because we've got to keep pushing on the Matcherino, guys. Right now, we're still waiting for the D.Va 1, Bad Guys 0, and Make It Quick rounds to finish off. We'll keep you guys updated the moment they get done, and let everybody know what's going on with the brackets and what maps we're going to be looking at. But as a reminder, colleague, whenever you're watching us, we have an agreement with Matcherino. For every minute that you're watching, you get 1 point. And whenever you donate, you get 5 times the amount of points for while you're watching. And what you can do is you can use these points that you accumulate to bet and receive different Cal rewards that we're offering you guys. Right now, you can we have access to a special channel inside the Cal League Discord. Whenever we break $25, when you break $50, you can use your points to get a shout from the casters. So either from Kane, Arms Race, or myself, we'll give you a shout and say, hey, what's up? If we get to $125, you can name a Minuteman team, which is our solo queue event that happens on Thursdays. And if you break $200, you unlock a Cowcast guest appearance, which is our podcast that airs on Saturdays. You can come in and give us a little bit of feedback on what you think about what's going on in Overwatch and Cal League events and professional events. It's a whole bunch of fun. And then if we can break $250, you get a co-cast a match during our newest event of the 3v3 tournament that happens on Tuesdays. And I know you might be looking at it going, oh, what? 3v3 tournament? Yes, right now we are testing out and running a 3v3 tournament that happens on Tuesdays. It's a really neat event. Like, meta goes out the window, like, meta be damned, kind of does whatever they want. Last time we did it, we saw a whole bunch of Ana, a whole bunch of Reinhardt and Ana, specifically, where everybody was charging in. And remember, all of these events that we do are free, so if you want to take part in our Tuesday 3v3, if you want to take part in the Minutemen, which is our solo queue event, you don't need a team for that, just you. You can always sign up on Mondays on our Cal League Discord, remember, ! Discord, hop into it and start participating.
Yep, absolutely. And I honestly, the thing I would be most interested in doing is naming a Minuteman team. That would be fun. I'd be so excited to just force a Minuteman team to have whatever name I give them. I would name them the Scared Turtles. That's what I'd name them.
The Scared Turtle?
That's my Minuteman team name. Any of you Matcherino donators who are looking for suggestions, go with that one.
See, now you're making me think about it. See, I almost want to start playing with the cast. You remember the other Minutemen game we had the other day was the team number was 4. So it was Team 4.
Oh, gosh, team 3, I remember.
And not Team 2. So, like, the whole time, all the casters were just like... See, if you want to spend your points and mess with us, that's the way to do it. Name it something just where we can't even track it. And
that was brutal. It was like there was like a not Team 3 and there was a team like 4.5 or something. That was... I felt bad. Felt bad for the casters.
All right, so... One other thing that we do need to mention is the fact that we should give a shout out to our other 2 sponsors, which is Discord. Naturally, we are a Discord-based organization, so thank you, Discord. Come join in through our Discord. Remember, we have higher quality sound for whenever you're inside of our Discord. There's groups that you guys can join free of charge. Just hop in, join them, get some high quality output. Additionally, Master Overwatch. You guys know you all use it. Check to see where you rank against other people and cry a little bit about yourself. You see that little graph that shows oh, it's going down or it's coming back up. So thanks to both of those guys. And one final thing that I should point out is that right now, if you're liking what you see, Cal League is taking in applications over the Discord. Make sure to go into Cal News, look up for applications. We're always looking for new people to help out. All hands on board. Remember, we're a volunteer organization, so if you want to get your foot in the door in esports, but you may not be the best player, like me, feel free to put in your application. We would love to.
Yeah, definitely. We would be happy to have you on board. We're super fun to work with.
I think so. Get to hear our sexy.
In our humble opinions, we are super fun to work with.
Yeah. We find ourselves kind of tolerable. I mean, no big deal. See, you have the problem though. You got to work with me and Kane, See, I've got the layer of separation. See, so you like it's just you right now for me.
That's true. Yeah, I'll have to do some extra de-stressing with this weekend now because of all the extra work I've had to do.
Oh,
Yeah, it's such a hassle.
So hard.
Talking about my favorite video game. It's the worst. Speaking of talking about my favorite video game, I came prepared. I gave you that suggestion last week of something to talk about while we were filling time, and now I have to fill time. So I have a question to pose to you. Okay. So one of the issues that I've had with Overwatch, something I really wanted to see is I want to see more Omnic heroes, like more robots. And one thing I thought would be funny is, what if there was an Omnic robot that was like the evil copy of a hero that was already in Overwatch, and all their abilities did the opposite? So, like, what if there was an evil robot Reinhardt that Earth Shatter, instead of knocking everyone onto the ground, it knocked them all up into the air, and they fell for the entire time that they were on the ground?
But what would his melee be? Would it just be like randomly, like whenever he swing, would he do damage, or would he have like?
No, it'd be like so like his melee would be whenever he swung the hammer would go off of the handle and it would be a ranged attack. And then whenever he did his flame strike, it would actually just shoot flame like in a circle around the front of him, and that would be his melee attack.
I could get down on evil Omnic Reinhardt. Only if he has similar phrases.
Yeah. It would all have to be backwards, though, because he's like the anti-Reinhardt. So he'd be like, phrase catch!
Bizarro Reinhardt.
Yeah, exactly. There are a couple other cool things you could do.
Now I'm thinking about it, and every single one of them that I'm trying to think about just becomes immensely perverted, because, like, what would the reverse Zenyatta be, since he uses the Discord orbs, i.e. balls?
It could be like... his transcendence could be like he drains the health of all the enemies. He'd be an offensive hero instead of a support. And then it would all just be backwards. If that makes any sense. Another good one is Graviton Surge, that instead of sucking everyone into the center, it just presses everyone as far away from the center as possible. It's like a mass disperse.
That seems like that would be the most troll ability on the face of the earth. Everybody's like getting their ultimates together. Like you could do like this Reinhardt like hit this massive earth shattering, and all of a sudden like reverse Zarya.
I smell a brawl. I smell a brawl incoming.
That's the way they should do it. Reverse everybody's ability.
Yeah.
I just want something more like Lucio Ball, man. I know everybody rips on it, but it's like the most fun thing to like detox a bad rank today. And, like, get stressful, just go in there and just boot somebody. Go hide inside their goal and use your ultimate and just like laugh maniacally and just like
absolutely.
Crouch. So we are looking around and we're still waiting on the end of Divas 1, Bad Guys 0, and Make It Quick. To give you guys a heads up, Make It Quick, as they've moved through the brackets, has gone through.
Hey, look at that.
We have news. Arms race, if you would like to say.
Oh yeah, so confirmed information coming out of the semifinals on the other side of the bracket. D.VA 1, Bad Guys 0 have won it 2-1 over Make It Quick, proving that Make It Quick refused to make it quick and took it all the way to a best of 3. And so now it will be 20 Boink versus D.VA 1, Bad Guys 0 for our best of 3 finals.
So now is it D.VA 3 Bad Guys 0, or is it still D.VA 1 Bad Guys 0?
I think it's D.VA. How many times did they win? 4. So it would be D.VA 1, 2, 3. D.VA 5 Bad Guys 1. Yeah, that's what it would be.
Oh, so yeah, no, it doesn't have a ring. Got to keep it Bad Guys 0. All right, so we are in the process of getting everything together, you guys. You've been great sticking with us through this. We are going to go on a quick, small break while we get the teams together to get them all organized, and we will be back with you here in just a few minutes. And welcome back, everybody. Back here with Matchroom and Arms Race. And as you see, we are in the finals now. Best of 3, get hype. Everybody's looking over, and you can see the maps are now getting banned. What you got to say, Arms Race? What do you think we're looking at?
Well, so first the teams are just going to ban out our double capture point and our King of the Hill maps. We'll go back to King of the Hills as tiebreakers, deciders for each of these competitive hybrid or payload maps. So then we're going to get down to the nitty gritty of our Dorado, Gibraltar, Hollywood, Kings Row, Nmly, Route 66. And yeah, so I think we're probably going to see our standard selection of Dorado and Kings Row. I'd like to see, we're going to have to see something else potentially as the third pick. Last time it was almost Nmly. I would have liked to have gone there, but I think that more realistically, it probably would have been someplace like Hollywood. I wish, so if I had my pick of it, it would be Route 66, but we rarely ever go there when it comes to competitive payload matches.
Actually, it looks like we're having a problem with the Overwatch draft website. So we're moving over to the where they're discussing it in chat real fast. So just 1 second. So what you guys are looking at is going. Just as a heads up, it's the site itself. It's not necessarily anything going on with any of the players or anything that we're using right here. Just the website's acting a little odd.
Yeah. So it looks like the first ban is going to be Dorado, and then 20 Boink is going to counter with a ban on Route 66. It's interesting seeing this go down in chat and not seeing the leftover options show up.
So that means that we've got Hollywood, Kings Row still left up, and
it's nice because we'll definitely be going someplace new at least, right? Because we can't go back to Dorado, so it'll have to be Kings Row and something else. Teams taking their time to decide here. Okay, Nmany's going to be banned.
Nmany is RIP, always RIP.
Yeah, unsurprising. Yeah, so Hollywood, Kings Row, and Gibraltar are our remaining. Yep, Gibraltar gets banned out.
Yeah,
so it looks like it'll be so now it just depends which one we go to first. So Gibraltar will be where we go for a third round for a tiebreaker. And so Hollywood gets banned. So, Kings Row, Hollywood, and then Gibraltar will be our map picks for this upcoming final.
Oh my gosh, we did it. We did it, Arms Race. We get a new map. Oh, that feel. Oh, yeah. That's my favorite thing is after you watch the same couple of maps all day to get that new spice in your life. Get some new variants.
Yeah, and I like Hollywood. It's nice and bright. There's tons of vertical space. Everyone can get on top of buildings, as opposed to Kings Row. You can't get on top of any buildings, but the whole saloon area you can get on top of the all of the Western set, which I like a lot. It adds some complexity to that area.
I love watching the struggle for the top section inside of Hollywood, especially whenever you get both teams that decide that they're no, we're going to try to control the high ground. Oh, there's just it's like a violent death match just across that little bitty tiny walkway, and it's one of my favorite things to see inside this, especially now not seeing so much Pharah. Whenever we had Pharah super in the meta, it was just violence, rockets, death, and destruction everywhere at that section. Now it's a very calm, casual walk with two Reinhardts slowly strolling at each other to see who breaks first.
So it looks like the teams will be taking a quick minute before we get started here. So,
All right. So for everybody, since it's been a little bit, just as a reminder, things to watch is that we have, I guess we'll have to say it. Jesus, Jesus, either way that you want to say it. He was a very good person to watch last time we watched D.Va 1, Bad Guys 0. Connorj is also a very strong player. Make sure to keep your eye on plays coming from them. As far as 20 Boink, which is what we've been following for just a little while, naturally we've been talking about Failure. Blank and Kapoww are their main DPS. Disaster and Nmly are going to be their support heroes, or support players. If I remember correctly, Jesus / Jesus, I'm going to find out which one of those it's got to be. Because I always feel bad saying, Jesus just got a kill. So, but if I remember correctly, he's one of their main DPS players. We haven't seen him yet today, so I'm doing this all off the top of my head, so pardon me, chat, if I get it wrong.
Yeah, me as well.
And if I remember correctly, he predominantly played a lot of Reaper last time we saw him, and he was a very good flank. Connorj
may end up matching may end up bonking heads with Kapoww there because Kapoww likes to do similar flanking on Reaper. So it'll be interesting to see if they catch each other out once or twice.
All right. Well, looks like we're entering the game. So arms race. Time for you to hop back over and hang out with Kane a little bit, and I will see you here in just a little while.
All right, everybody. Welcome to King's Row. You are here at the Cow Open number 10. We are here in our finals between D.VA 1 Bad Guys 0 and 20 Boink. I'm Arms Race, and here to break down the action with me is That's Gotta Be Kane. Kane, how's it going, man?
Oh man, it's that time of the night, it's that time of the day, it is that time, it is finals time, and I am more than excited because this is where I really like to break things down. I like to watch more than anything, more than even just the play of each team. I like to watch the mental breakdown for each of these teams. I like to see the fatigue. I like to see it get nasty and gritty. I like to see both teams crawl and claw their way to that final round. I want to see which team simply wants it more. This is, in fact, the Cow League. This is the Open. This is the big shabam, and, you know, I want to see which team wants it more. I'm excited to see how 20 Boink plays. I'm excited to see how D.VA 1 Bad Guy 0 goes ahead and takes it. I want to hear your thoughts, you know, given what we've seen of 20 Boink, but also seeing the very hard fight and the momentum that's going to be trailing for D.VA 1 Bad Guy 0. I'm really interested to see what are your takes and picks on how you think these teams are going to play.
Yeah, so I think the one thing that might be interesting, especially looking at the picks right off the bat, is Connorj on the Genji. We saw in the last matchup both teams opting to play the Reaper instead of the Genji, and so I think that having a Genji on the attacking side will be the one thing that might change the pace of these battles. We can see him staying up in the air on the side of the statue, trying to get out as much shuriken damage as he can. The majority of 20 Boink gonna opt to stay behind the hotel here. Kapoww gets caught out, and so he's going to Wraith form his way back to the team. Oh, Vero goes into a charge, but Kapoww catches him out. Connorj goes into the back, though. He takes out Failure, but Kapoww does manage to take out the Genji. However, this entire time, we do have attackers on the point, slowly capturing, getting one kill after another. Kapoww, the only one left, and he will go down as well. And within moments, we will have this first capture here. Genji, Connorj on the Genji, getting that pick onto Failure, certainly a significant change of pace for what we've seen with 20 Boink. So once again, I'll be interested to see how that plays out.
Right now, we've been seeing Team D.VA, you know, they've been doing really well, and I guess you could say right now it is, in fact, D.VA 1 Bad Guys, or at least 20 Boink 0 in terms of grabbing the first point. We've been seeing, you know, the good general, you know, poke and play, you know, getting both teams to try to whittle the other ones down right now. Failure, once again, very masterful with that shield management, knowing he should not stick his head out a little too far right now, allowing for his shield to regen, but also getting Vero nice and caught out. But it looks like both Tornasucks are going down, but there are no shields remaining for Failure, and Jesus and Connorj are gonna get a great triple kill Deadeye and a nice cleanup of the rest of the team, and that right there was just a matter of which team was gonna be able to hold out the onslaught. And as we saw, great management from Failure's shield management, but it was not enough to hold off Vero, and because of that team fight, it was pretty much a mimic of each other. But you know, you take down one Reinhardt shield and already you have just the entire team vulnerable. They're gonna take this first checkpoint with relative ease as we move on to the last checkpoint right now. 20 Boink having to really saturate their defense this time around, and I believe they have enough ultimates to do so.
Here comes the sound barrier. Failure is going to manage to land the Earth Shatter, and Kapow's going to take out Vero and Dantwist. And with that numbers disadvantage, you can see YZX opting for a suicide here, as the attackers are going to have to reset. That particular engage not going their way. And once again, it is at the hands of Failure. He did get caught out a little bit the first time, not able to have too much of an impact on the team fight. But when he lands that Earth Shatter, it comes up big.
Definitely does, and right now the sound barrier is going to drop, which is going to allow the teams to move on in. The Deadeye is going to get dropped along with the speed boost, but is he going to get inside enough to get himself an actual pickoff? It does not seem so. That was a lot of ultimates burned for nothing, arms rates, and right now it's looking like 20 Boink also not really having much. Vero being the only one to have the point right now, but the payload is moving, and they are getting things moving on. They are scared and hesitant to move on, and that's going to be the cue for the teams to move on. The highlight, and that Deadeye is going to get moving on. Connorj gets a pick. Jesus is able to, in fact, take out Failure, and right now we're seeing the good old funnel dance trying to get both teams on it, as Boink and Kapoww are the only ones to remain, but right now, both teams are actually starting to suffer trading losses. Jesus is able to take out Boink. Kapoww is the only one remaining. That is it. D.VA 1, Bad Guys 0. I don't need to say their team name again. That is legitimately what has just happened. So that is going to be quite the emphatic statement so far right now. The momentum definitely lingering from their semifinals match as they move into this finals, and perhaps that was the wake-up call that 20 Boink might have needed going into this second round here on King's Row.
Yeah, you know, this entire time we've been following 20 Boink up the bracket. We've been seeing Kapoww and Blank have tremendous success picking up kills, but we've mentioned it once or twice that a lot of times it's coming off of the back of Failure's massive plays on Reinhardt. Whether he's landing an Earthshatter or a charge or just getting tons of kills with his hammer, he draws a lot of focus from the enemy team by doing so, and it allows Kapoww and Blank the wiggle room they need to pick up those final kills that usually end up securing their win. But the reality is, every single engage that they've had, Failure, for the most part, has been getting caught out very early on and taken down. And every time that he hasn't, they've succeeded in fighting off the enemy team. But every time he goes down, it's been it's spelled disaster here for 20 Boink.
That is most certainly, and now as we're looking at things, you know, they're gonna keep with the same composition right now, pretty much feeling themselves that they have what it takes. You know, we're gonna see what they're able to dish out now that the sides have been switched. We're gonna see the attack of 20 Boink once again on the blue side. Nmly is gonna be playing on the Lucio. Kapoww once again on Reaper. Blank will be playing McCree. Failure once again on Reinhardt. Boink is going to be playing Zarya and Disaster on Zenyatta. And on the red team we have D.Va 1, Bad Guy 0 with Dantwist gonna be playing Lucio. Jesus going to be playing Reaper, as I'm now finding out that is how it's supposed to be pronounced. Connorj going to be on the McCree. Cat will be playing Zenyatta. Vero gonna be on the Reinhardt, and Izzat.
Yeah, the entire attacking team getting behind the point here, but Blank stays on the opposite side. He gets caught out by Jesus though, and he does go down. The defenders here picking up quite a few kills, and most of the attackers caught behind, and we get a team kill on the side of D.Va 1, Bad Guy 0. Pretty resounding defense coming out from them. It actually matched up pretty evenly. I thought for a second there that Blank, because he split up from the rest of the team, was going to get kind of a decent vantage point to pick up some kills, but Jesus was right there, took him out fairly quickly, and was able to rejoin the rest of his team to help them secure that team kill.
And right now we're seeing both teams once again lining up. This is a typical format of both teams dishing out as much damage as they can to break down each of the Reinhardt shields. And there you have it. Vero is going to charge. He's going to get the kill off on Nmly. Jesus is actually going to take out Disaster, and that's going to rid of all the support play. And right now you just have D.Va 1, Bad Guy 0, and they're just maiming the team right now as 20 Boink is struggling to find their footing as they start to really ponder on what it is they need to do. Do they need to simply stock up a few more ults in order to bring the pace of battle their way? Because right now, as we are seeing it, D.Va 1, Bad Guy 0 is holding full control of this. They're not allowing for their pokes and damage to really go out. And as we're seeing right now, Jesus is actually standing into the payload, always coming in for a flank as he goes in again. All the Torpness is going to go in as Jesus once again, along with Izzat with the double kill. They come in from a flank. They have been doing a great pincer strategy this entirety of the game right now, and it seems like no one from 20 Blink has actually caught on, or at least enough to actually do anything. This is the second time which Jesus and the rest of the team have actually done a successful pincer, and so we're gonna have to really see if 20 Boink can actually turn the tides right now as they now stack up on 3 ults.
This is the one time that we see 20 Boink really like run into a brick wall here. So it's going to be interesting to see how they adapt to the challenge. They are opting for a different route down. Sound barriers come out from both sides. Graviton Surge picks up nothing as both Reinhardts swing their hammers at each other. Kapoww does manage to pick up 2, however. Boink coming through with the kill onto YZX. This may be the team fight that they needed as they make their way onto the point and start to force the rest of the divas off. And the capturing begins. Surely it should be enough to secure this first checkpoint here, but it was by no means the quick, succinct victory that we've been customary seeing 20 Boink come out with here.
Yeah, that's not typically what we've been seeing, but then again, that's exactly what the finals start to bark at you. It's that, you know, you got here for a reason. The enemy team is not to be taken lightly by any means, and now that we're seeing it, this is probably the first time which we've seen a King's Row map in which we have had less than 5 minutes on the clock. We're actually having just beneath 4 minutes right now for 20 Boink to move in to take this checkpoint, and they know this, and they don't have any time to waste. Both teams are moving in really hard. Both of each of Vero and each get a kill, but Izzat, however, is going to get a double. Vero is actually going to pick up a triple with that kill, and it looks like right now D.Va 1, Bad Guy 0 seem to have gotten the least impactful return of that right now. 20 Boink actually getting the better as they were able to knock off whatever they could of D.Va 1 right off of the point, which is actually going to force them back to the checkpoint. We might be able to see, given the amount of ults that they have and the returning of their team, they might be able to corral in order to contest this checkpoint with another team fight, though it's not going to likely be in their favor if they cannot corral and do it instantly, but they're going to do it anyways.
Graviton Surge catches a few people, but the Transcendent's going to keep one of them alive. Meanwhile, kills on the blue side coming up big. The Divas falling one by one here. Blank picking up a double kill, and Failure just swinging his hammer through the rest of the team here. And that will earn them the second checkpoint and a little bit more time to make it all the way. And if they do so, we will be heading to our first King of the Hill decider for the night, which would certainly be exciting, but definitely not what the Divas wanted coming out of their really rapid win when they were on attack. Payload comes around the side here. Damage being exchanged across both sides. Here comes the speed boost. Earthshatter's going to take out Vero and a bunch of other players on the attacking side. And with that, it's a team kill going out for 20 Boink, and all of a sudden they got the momentum that they did not have when it came to that capture point. They're making their way towards the end now. We could be heading to a decider. Here comes the Earthshatter. Sound barrier comes out as well. Blank throwing down the Deadeye in the back, but Vero does have his barrier up. He's only going to pick off Jesus, but that's a pretty significant DPS kill. Blank gets a double kill. Graviton Surge catches Connorj. His Failure charges him into the wall. That will completely wipe the defenders off the payload, and 20 Boink will secure 3 points, and we will head to our Koth tiebreaker.
3-3.
And that right there is exactly what we needed to see from 20 Boink. That was the wake up that we had to have get played. D.Va 1, Bad Guy 0 do take the first round. 20 Boink, however, are able to retaliate and take back that second. So what we're going to have now is definitely a King of the Hill to decide the first
one. Bad Guy
game.
0's winning that coin flip, so they will be able to choose the King of the Hill map. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that it's gonna be Lijiang Tower, just because it almost always is when it comes to these deciders, and it will be. So we will head to Lijiang Tower, have a little bit of a switch up. This will be our first time casting King of the Hill here, Kane.
Yes, it
And
will.
of
As a
course,
matter of
no
fact,
better
looks like it's
time
gonna
to
be
do
a
it than our
while.
finals.
Exactly. You know, this is probably the best time, you know, to finally get some new maps. You know, it's nice, fresh, you know, it's fresh, it's new, it gives the eyes a little bit of a break. You know, it really allows us to kind of spice things up as we see it. This will probably not only be, you know, the first ever King of the Hill, you know, of this tournament, of course, but, you know, it'll be really good to see Lijiang Tower. It'll be really interesting to see how these teams fight for their first time of the night here on a King of the Hill map. So, you know, it'd be really interesting to see how they're able to move in and reciprocate their offenses. You know, we're going to likely see a different team comp because this is going to be a full death ball of offense in which team can simply outfrag the other, grab that point, and contest it. So we're going to be seeing some really hard-hitting play. And this is where the finals and Overwatch gets really exciting. You know, you're not moving anything. You're not escorting a payload. You know, you're not just trying to like skitter on over to a point. No, this is full-on offense. This is Overwatch at its most offensive, and I'm really excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be seeing some change in picks. We do see Blank picking up the Tracer. We've seen him pretty consistently on McCree for the majority of their matchups. Kapoww also going to be on the Genji. He's been playing Reaper the majority of the time. And even Disaster's on Vero for a little bit there. I wonder if he'll be switching off, most likely. Just because there are no healers on the side of 20 Boink. And they'll make that switch now. But yeah, like you said, you know, there's a big difference between standing your ground in one location and, you know, trying to keep the forward momentum going, which can sometimes hurt you here on the King of the Hill maps. We're going to have Boink jump in right away, and Vero actually is going to jump in on the other side and pick up a couple kills. Jesus is going to follow through with a double kill of his own. Huge numbers disadvantage on the side of 20 Boink, and that certainly will earn the D.Va's control of this point here. Point unlocks in 1 second. They'll send someone over to continue capturing it while Connorj makes up the front line of the team. And the percentage starts ticking here for the D.Vas.
And already I can tell right now from what we're able to see, you know, Vero and boys, you know, with D.Va, they're getting really offensive with this move on. You know, they're already holding back. The Winston shields right now are being critical and allowing for these teams to kind of move in and usher in their offense at a primarily safe rate. But at the same time, they have to be fast. They have to execute really swiftly. And as we're already seeing, a lot of frags are moving on. And just like that, 20 Blink is going to take it with a more resounding offense, which is going to force a lot of D.Va 1 team to actually start moving back. And as we can see now, the point is being contested, but they know to move on back. And this is what I'm talking about. Fast, increased offense. Jesus is getting the Deadeye as he crucifies failure on the freaking Zarya. He goes down really quickly, and it looks like this point is going to continue to get on point. But right now, we're getting the Reinhardt, but we're getting the Winston activating the Hulkamaniac as he goes ahead and he starts going absolutely bonkers. The Torpid, however, is going to whiff as they're not going to really get a whole lot. Vero, however, still allowing to contest the point along with Dantwist as they try to get out some kind of offense. Disaster trying to hold off this team, mitigating what damage he can, but it's not going to really be a whole lot. But there you have it right now. Connorj with the Deadeye. He moves in, takes out Disaster. He takes out Failure for the double kill. And however, oh my gosh, but they were not paying too much attention. Poor 20 Boink. And that's going to be it right there. D.Va 1, Bad Guy 0, regaining the point, moving on 30% as they move past a quarter. They're looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, and this is a really good sign that the point is going back and forth, because it means that it's really going to come down to the wire towards the end. Graviton Surge comes down, catches out most of the D.Vas. However, Kapoww with his Dragon Blades going to slice through all of them, pick up a triple kill, a quad. And meanwhile, the point is going to be captured. Kapoww is just going to keep on moving ahead. And they just completely wiped the D.Vas there. An excellent combination of ultimates. The Wombo combo coming up big, re-earning them this point. However, they are down those two ultimates for the next engage. So if Connorj manages to get a Dragon Blade of his own, a couple other ultimates come out on the side of the D.Vas, they could be dealing with a difficult challenge. D.Vas actually make their way onto the point before encountering the enemy team. Cat throws down the Transcendence, and he's going to start healing a lot of his teammates. Nobody going down quite yet, as Boink throwing down the Primal Rage. Blank manages to pick off Vero, and that's a tank down for the D.Vas. Tank goes down on the side of 20 Boink as well. Graviton Surge manages to only catch out Failure. He does go down, but a Sound Barrier is going to keep the rest of the team alive. Connorj and Jesus picking up the few final kills necessary for the D.Vas to reclaim this point. And they will get it, even though there is a decent portion of 20 Boink remaining near the point. There's just nobody on it to contest.
Yep, and that's one of the problems you face when you're playing on these King of the Hill maps, when action is very fast. It's coming at you. The moment you look away and you turn back around, more action goes on as Dantwist is able to actually take out Blank with an unfortunate bomb that actually results in their own self-destruction, but it's going to rely on more kills right now, and just about that, they're trying to hold on to this point. They got it with 20 Boink not paying a lot of attention as they moved on. Now 80% right now. D.Va 1, Bad Guy 0 just trying to funnel and keep shafted away 20 Boink so they can't get back on the point. but they cannot make the same mistake as 20 Boink. They need to continue their unrelentless and aggressive abandon, but they need to keep on the point, as it seems the blue team of 20 Boink is gonna move in, and they start fragging left and right now. Blink is gonna get the kill on Cat as Failure takes out Connorj. Kapoww is gonna take out Dantwist. Blink once again with the triple out on Vero, and this is what I was talking about, absolute destruction. They are not gonna allow it. Blink on the tracer play, showing that they are truly meant for this map. 99%. Dantwist is desperate to get on the point as he starts to pole dance as much as he possibly can, as Lucio is known for on this map, but it is not gonna necessarily be enough. But Connorj switching right now. Jesus is getting on the point as best as he can right now as he starts to toss one turn. Vero also trying to remain on the point as now you have the funnel play, but there are no ultimates coming out right now of D.VA Bad Guy Zero, and just like that, 20 Boink is going to take it with convincing fashion. There you have your first game. D.VA 1, Bad Guy 0 do in fact remain 0. 20 Boink is in fact going to take it, and it is now 1-0 as we move to our second round of the finals.
Really impressive play coming out from both teams. This was definitely the play that earned 20 Boink that point there. Brought them all the way up to 96%, and then they were able to take it to 99 and get that overtime going. Once it is on overtime, and the Divas were just filing in one by one, very difficult to reclaim the point at that juncture, and really just as close as you could possibly come to even matchups here in this competitive match. And so that will be 1 point going over to 20 Boink, and we will be heading on now to our next map, which will be Hollywood. Excited to head there. We haven't been there yet. So a lot more interesting combat to come, Kane.
Hollywood swinging. Definitely a whole lot of action getting ready, as this is going to be the first time in which we are in fact casting Hollywood as we move on to the second round of the Overwatch Cow Open Finals. 20 Boink versus D.VA 1, Bad Guy 0, though in this case it is in fact 20 Boink 1, Bad Guys, D.VA Bad Guy 0? But we are going to move on. Does that make them the bad guys? That's a good Does that make them the bad guys? Right? It's like we have some psychological warfare going on here with the team names. But we are, in fact, going to be moving on to Hollywood. And I'm really interested to see exactly how this plays. We've seen in the past a whole lot of Reinhardt play and Zarya play shine, especially at this first point, in which those two, along with either Genji or Tracer, generally, depending on how it is, you can actually move on and really start to flank your enemies. You have a lot of opportunities. If you can hold the high ground, if you can hold the balcony, you essentially have control on whether or not you can choose to engage on basically your terms. So I'm really interested to see how both of these teams utilize that. We've seen both of these teams play a really good Genji as well as Reaper with Kapoww. So I'm really interested to see exactly how both of these teams are able to take advantage of those high grounds and secure the point. Because when you move on to a fight like this, especially on Hollywood, generally speaking, the first team to come out with that kind of explosive power like we saw on the Lijiang Tower King of the Hill map, they usually take the point. It only takes one decisive fight.
Yeah, and you talked about the strength of the Reinhardt and Zarya picks on this first point of the map. Failure has been the Reinhardt we've been watching for the majority of this bracket, just having some really impressive Reinhardt play. But the one time that we've seen him kind of stumble very briefly was when he was facing up against the offensive line of Jesus and Connorj. Connorj managing to catch out Failure a couple of times and take him out before he was able to have too much of an impact. If they're able to continue doing that, they may actually be able to put up a pretty good defense against 20 Boink here. However, if Failure is able to learn from the challenges that they've put forward, maybe it might not work out for them. We'll have to see.
We'll definitely have to see. As we start to get ready, the team's looking like they're almost ready here, getting ready to start. This is going to, of course, be round 2 of the Cow Overwatch Finals. Is going to be 20 Boink with 1 against D.VA 1, Bad Guy 0, fighting to keep their place here in this finals tournament. Both teams seem to now be ready. Arms race, I'd like to know, what are your thoughts with Failure's play as well as the play coming in from Vero? Both of these Reinhardts, have really been the backbone of their team. Both of these people have really played, extremely well. We've seen both Reinhardts pretty much play at an even form and level. We've seen those Earth Shatters get executed pretty much, to perfection almost. And really, it's just a matter of which one slips up. But we've seen both of them play really well, followed by the follow-up of Boink and Jesus on each of their respective teams being able to follow up in tandem. So with teams this evenly matched, what do you think either team needs to do in order to really get the one up on the other?
Yeah, so I think there are some subtle differences that are important between Vero and Failure, which is Failure, a lot of times his play is mostly keeping up his barrier for his team, getting his ultimate charged up, and then using it to catch out the majority of the team, maybe charging in then. But I've noticed with Vero, he's had a lot more impactful charges. And so I think what will really be the decider in these matchups will be Boink's choice of Zarya barriers. You know, if he's able to properly apply barriers to the people that get charged by Vero or YZX, who looks like is going to be playing Reinhardt this time around. If he's properly applying those barriers, he may be able to save those crucial picks, keep them from happening, and that'll maybe keep them a member up when they would have otherwise lost. So that might make the difference here. But on the blue side, we are going to have 20 Boink with Nmly playing Lucio, Kapoww on the Reaper, Boink on the Zarya, Failure on Reinhardt, Disaster on the Zenyatta, and Blank on the McCree. Pretty much a standard setup here for 20 Boink.
Pretty standard setup as we start moving in to begin round 2 of the competitive Overwatch finals. 20 Boink versus D.VA, Bad Guy 0, with 20 Boink having 1 point over, being in the lead right now. And already we're seeing Jesus moving around in the back, trying to get whatever flanks they can, and already 20 Boink not allowing for the enemy team to get what they want right now, saying you are not going to be even so much a setup as Kapoww gets first blood, taking out Dantwist already, and that's going to force the entirety of D.VA, Bad Guy 0 to fall back right now, even though it looks like Vero is going to remain stubborn in the back, but he does get taken out. And now Connorj, having gotten the takeoff of Blank, is going to have to retreat, not wanting to get taken out as well, because with each bleeding opponent that falls, that's going to be more time it takes for the teams to regroup already.
Yeah, Vero and Jesus trying to divide the focus of the defenders here by approaching from behind. It doesn't work out for them, but Connorj does manage to take out Disaster. That's a support down for this upcoming team fight. Vero takes out Nmly, and now they're completely supportless. Kill after kill going down inside the cafe here as the attackers slowly secure this capture point. Connorj coming up with a triple kill towards the end there with his Dragon Blade. Really, really impressive. Not even having to use it there.
Not even having to use your Dragon Blade, and you're picking up a triple to emphatically state that you're going to take this point, and you're going to make your bed hit it, you're going to lay on it, and you're going to take your bed and put it on the payload, and you're going to escort that payload and a nice snuggie, because they are keeping themselves warm, but also keeping their ults reserved. They are keeping it nice and ready. Connorj still with the ultimate along with Cat support. They're going to keep it 2-2. Very nice and reserved ults, no deficits just yet, but it looks like right now, D.VA, Bad Guy 0 are in fact going to hold now with 3 ultimates in comparison to now the 3 actually going with 20 points. So even though they took that point with a pretty good, decisive push, they were in fact able to keep ahead. So 20 Boink right now being able to hold off as the sound barrier is dropped, as Vero goes ahead and drops a Earth Shatter. That doesn't entirely get everything, though Failure and Boink are going to get 2 respective kills. Connorj, however, going to get the knockoff down on Failure, still having even activated his ult. It still allows him to stay in this fight, though he is discorded, and it is going to make him pay. Disaster taking him out as Disaster picks up a double kill, taking out Jesus. What a disaster. And right now, it looks like the point right now is in fact going to get competitive right. D.VA, Bad Guy 0, they are going to keep it moving. So in the end, even though you had your initial frags, the payload is still moving, and you have a lot of D.VA, Bad Guy 0 still on the point. And because of that, they're doing well for themselves.
Self-destruct comes down from the defenders. Vero tries to charge into Failure, but he's actually going to get cut off by the steps there as Blank picks up YZX. Boink a little caught out without his team, gonna get forced out of his mech and back off. It looks now like the Divas are gonna have to regroup a little bit. Connorj heading for the upper ground here. Jesus as well on both sides. However, it looks like a couple of 20 Boink are gonna try and make their way to the rooftop. Jesus is gonna have something to say about that. Try and take some pot shots off at the defending team while he waits for his attackers to be ready to regroup. They are going to start moving forward the payload now, but there's a ton of ultimates on the side of the Divas. Transcendence comes down as the defenders move forward, but Jesus has the Deadeye from the rooftop. Boink manages to defense matrix it away, but Connorj picks up the double kill onto the back line. Kapoww manages to take out Double J, but there's the Earthshatter picking up 2. Vero's charge is going to whiff, and Failure returns the charge with a kill onto Jesus. Numbers advantage pretty much even here, going to start going the way of the Divas as they pick up that kill onto Boink. The defenders now caught up inside the studio as the payload smoothly slides into the second checkpoint, and that'll be 2 points on the side of the Divas.
D.Va 1, Bad Guy 0 really know how to corral themselves to do all that they must. We've already seen a lot of bleeding tactics coming out from 20 Boink, trying to pick off and trying to keep the other team from actually being able to really get themselves together before they can do any kind of calculated push. But as we've seen, even though they get down 1, a lot of the team know when to really turn on the switch and go for an offensive push, and also when to pull back, allowing for their team to move on down. But just like that, they're going to move on, not going to allow them as the sound barrier comes on out from Nmly. But just like that, this Sucker's gonna hold the rest of the team on down. Counter offensive sound barrier comes on out from Disaster, and just like that, Dantwist is gonna move on in. Jesus able to tear frag off of it, while Cat is also able to take out Failure, and just like that, the backbone of this team is going down. Poor Nmly is actually gonna get picked off as she gets caught right out of place, and just like that, this payload's gonna keep moving. D.Va 1, Bad Guy 0 showing that they are keeping control of the situation. The pace of this match is in their favor, and they refuse to let it go right now. Cat, just to really reaffirm their stance, is gonna go ahead and pop the Tranquility to ensure that no one at this stage of the game is actually going to drop and fall down. Vero actually able to take out Boink right now as Dantwist gets the hail on Failure. Both of the front lines having fallen down as the payload is just inches away from getting in. Jesus, Izzat, and of course the rest of Dantwist is actually able to get off another frag, as it looks like Nmly and Disaster were the last ones to get on the point. And it would happen that the support would be the final backbone. And it looks like D.Va 1, Bad Guy 0 are in fact going to take the first round of Hollywood. And 20 Boink again, they need to return with that same aggression. They need to show that they are not going to let this sit in.
Yeah, a couple of really smart picks coming out from the side of D.Va 1, Bad Guy 0, staggering the respawns of 20 Boink, making it so that the tanks really couldn't feel comfortable just flat out contesting that payload. They had to opt for cover instead to try and preserve their lives until the rest of the teammates could join up. And they just weren't able to do so time and time again. They were losing 1 or 2 team members, and just without a full 6v6, that numbers disadvantage really going to turn things in the favor of the Divas here. And so now we will have 20 Boink on the attack. They need to echo, like you said, Kane, echo the aggression that they just experienced, and hopefully come up just as big. Once again, the only way they can hope to take this is to take it to a to a King of the Hill map, to a tiebreaker. And so they're going to have to take this all the way. Looking a little bit at the team compositions, we do see Boink opting for the D.Va instead of the Zarya, which he did switch to a little bit earlier in the previous map. Connorj still going to be sticking on to the Genji. I'm looking primarily for changes in offensive heroes, because we saw a lot of switching between McCree and Tracer and Genji and Reaper in the past. But it looks like both teams pretty comfortable with the DPS choices that they've made.
And this will actually be really interesting to see, because now that we're actually looking at, 20 Boink really kind of being on the fence right now, if they really want to kind of keep their lead and keep their place, this is where I start to talk about really the real mental fortitude, of both of these teams, as they start to, witness that fatigue. D.Va 1, Bad Guy 0 in their semifinals went to a best of 3, so they already were kind of worn out. At the same time, though, you can also argue that they had a lot of the momentum on their side as they went into this, as they were just fresh out of a fight, ready to pick another one, and it looks like they're going to look for another one right here as Jesus takes out Failure, immediately taking out the front line of their team, but Blank returns it, right on Vero. Jesus, however, going to take out Kapoww, as that makes it a double kill for him. 2 frags against none, both teams losing their front lines, and it looks like Izzat, however, is going to take out Nmly. Blank returns the kill on Cat as Connorj takes it back on Blank. Now it looks like you have a Dantwist. He's going to be moving out, able to get the hit and the frag out on Boink right now. Failure having to make it right back to his team is trying to regroup and corral. Both teams right now are stunted, but it's like you said, it's going to be relying on 20 Boink on actually being able to corral his team together for an offensive push. It's going to be a lot easier for D.Va Bad Guy 0 to return the favor and damage as it would be for 20 Boink. And we're starting to see now that mental fatigue. They cannot allow themselves to get too tired. Here they go again, arms race.
Vero goes in with the charge. YZX actually manages to take out Failure. Connorj gets into the back line and takes out Blank before the Transcendence goes down. The Dragon Blade's still going, and so Connorj is going to be able to pick up Disaster as YZX and Cat pick up the final kills to completely wipe the attackers off the face of the map here. Absolutely brutal. Pretty interesting, the Jesus opting to hide behind the corner there so that when the attackers approached, he diverted their focus, made it so that the front line wasn't a complete unit facing the defenders there, and they fell pretty quickly afterwards. But here comes a different train of attack. Graviton Surge comes down. It does catch out most of the blue team, and they're going to die very, very quickly here. May not choose that path ever again after being caught out so bad that time around.
You know what? I really liked what they were doing. I genuinely did. It was actually a really smart move. The only problem is that, I don't know, maybe if they had their cues off for a little bit, but 20 Boink and team, when they went off through the side, they didn't go off all at the same one, so they weren't really a ball. They were all kind of discombobulated and really kind of, really spread out, which allowed for that Earth Shatter to hit really hard. And here they come again. They're popping in really hard as 20 Boink drops the damage mitigation as best they can, but it does not, in fact, save Kapoww from getting picked off. But Boink and Disaster equally get their own frags as Connorj evens it up with the kill on Failure. Boink doing everything that they can with a high-powered energy to get another kill. Izzat is actually going to take out Blank as Boink actually throws out the Torpusuk to take out Connorj. They don't get everything that they want, but they do get enough to take out some of the defense. It is now an even 3-4 or rather 3-3, but now 3-4 as Izzat and team right now with Zenyatta being the only one on the point. And this looks like 20 Boink is actually going to start securing, trying to hold off what they can from Vero on the team. The Torpusuk goes out, but are they going to be able to actually continuation with some follow-through? Offensive power doesn't really come out right now as Vero is finding himself going up against a disaster wall of tranquility and just heals after heals coming out. But right now, it looks like D.Va Bad Guy 0 are slowly being able to funnel in as the ultimate power from 20 Boink actually, 20 Boink, in fact, actually starts to run out. It's going to force them to move back, but they need to make something happen really quick as they have less than a minute, moving on 35 seconds.
Yeah, 20 Boink wasn't able to secure a complete team wipe. They actually lost a few of their own team members, and so they didn't really have the full force of numbers they would have liked when it came to securing that point. And so they were forced off of it, but here comes the second engage. Speed boost goes down. Connorj takes out Failure, and so that's going to be a very weak front line here. YZX picks up 2. Jesus takes out Kapoww, and the attackers are just falling down one after another. Nmly trying to stay alive, riding the wall there, but it's just not going to be enough. Connorj finishes off Blank, and there will be no one alive in time to make it to this final point. And in a very impressive showing on the side of D.Va Bad Guy 0, they are going to be able to stave off the attack from 20 Boink and take this win in our second round here of our finals.
Yeah, but just like there's not going to be a best of 3 here. It is, in fact, going to go to the third round, however. We saw a very impressive showing here from D.Va Bad Guy 0. This is what they needed to do. As a matter of fact, they really did themselves a huge favor not allowing it to go to that third round. As we were saying, it really starts to bring in that level of fatigue and how it really kind of changes up the game when you have to fight one more match just to close the round. And D.Va Bad Guy 0 really took advantage on the defense, though they played more like the offense. As we saw, there was a lot of counter offensive. They never truly allowed for 20 Boink to make the push on them. They simply went ahead, they corralled together, and they said, okay, they're moving in, don't let them push on us. We're going to push on them. And as we saw most of the time, they took that very aggressive, like they say, the best offense or the best defense is a greater offense. And they really kind of made that into a reality as we saw here. A lot of power, really coming out from Vero and Jesus as just so much power, including the high energy charges coming out from YZX. They were simply showing and saying, we are not going to go to a third round for you to, change up your comp. We like you where you are right now. And we're gonna piecemeal you right here. And so now they just save themselves.
A lot of credit has to go
fatigue.
to Jesus. Jesus having some really impressive. He on the Reaper, he was holding a lot of corners, and so every time that it looked like 20 Boink was about to have one of those very classic aggressive pushes that they've been showing all along this bracket, all of a sudden Jesus is behind them. He's death blossoming, coming out of the stairwell where nobody was expecting him. And he never really netted a huge amount of kills in the process, but he had that crucial split of focus that he inflicted onto 20 Boink, making it impossible for them to guard from all the angles they needed to. And because of that, they ended up faltering most of the time.
Yeah, they were able to pretty much bottleneck them, but, you know, here we have it now. Are they going to be able to do the same here on Watchpoint Gibraltar? This will, in fact, be arguably the final map, depending on how it's played. If we get a 2-0 victory for either team, it will spell out victory in this Cal Open Finals, though it looks like both teams are going to have to fight now, as they are, in fact, verging closer to match point here in our finals game right now. It is good to mention that both teams have, in fact, switched. 20 Boink is, in fact, now the red team, as D.Va 1 Bad Guy 0 is now, in fact, the blue team. We're going to be seeing some really interesting picks. I expect, you know, a general consensus that you're not going to see a whole lot of defense coming in around the you know, the air raid tower right now. You know, once we get that checkpoint changed in the next patch, you know, we're going to see a lot more aggressive play perhaps. But right now, looks like we're having a pretty standard comp, everything pretty much from the last game right now. Failure, however, as we see, is no longer playing Reinhardt, as they have in fact opted to play for the first time a Roadhog. So it'll be really interesting to see this change going on for the finals. You know what they say, sometimes when it gets down to it, you just got to go with either A, a comfort pick, or B, something entirely different to change up the tactic.
Yeah, absolutely. Failure also switched to Winston at the end of the map on Hollywood. And so, you know, maybe he's just getting a sense of how he's being countered on the Reinhardt. Is going to try and switch things up here. Watchpoint Gibraltar is one of the more interesting maps in that this is really the farthest back you'll ever see a team defend on any of the payload maps. But it can really work out for defensive teams if they manage to hold the server room well. We're going to see Kapoww try to approach from the upper side here, but Connorj and Jesus are waiting for him. They're going to try and force him back. There is still no one contesting the payload. It looks like Vero might be considering walking up to the payload to starting to contest it, but the reality is you want to hold so far back here because when you're this far back, it'll force the attacking team to expose themselves before you have to, and allow you to funnel some damage their way and get your ultimates charged up, perhaps to your advantage. And so that's what the defenders are going to try and do now. The Divas.
I really like what they're doing right now, actually. Connorj and Jesus, as you can tell, they're keeping very well attention to all of the flanks and the rooftops, not allowing the upper ground to be given at all right now to 20 Boink, which of course allows for D.Va 1 Bad Guy 0 to really kind of keep their eyes on. They always know where they are at all times, whereas at the same time they have Jesus, of course, being scared, but they're gonna force the offensive knowing they have not much going at them. 20 Boink, however, does in fact get bottled up in that Torpnasuck, and just like that, Connorj, Jesus, and Cat are gonna descend from the heavens from where they were watching at the high points, and they're going to descend with some offensive power, and they're going to start taking out many of the people right now. But Kapoww, however, showing that they're not going to go out without a fight. He actually alone takes out 2 before getting taken out at the remaining health of Dantwist. At the end of the day, though, it is going to rather keep the payload back where it was. However, D.Va 1 Bad Guy 0 having to rally back together, but they have quite the trip to make right now.
Yeah, this is exactly what the Divas wanted. They wanted to expose 20 Boink, and they managed to do that, catch them out with the Graviton Surge. But now 20 Boink has all of the ultimates, going to go ham in the back. Kapoww with the Dragon Blade manages to pick up 1, but meanwhile, it looks like the Divas are just wrecking the back line of 20 Boink here. Jesus manages to pick up Nmly, and they force them all the way back behind this second checkpoint. That's really gotta hurt here for 20 Boink. They had such a massive ultimate advantage. They gave most of it up, and it didn't net them any kills at all. Still 2 ultimates on the side of 20 Boink, so they do have a little bit of working room, but there are 2 DPS ultimates coming out from the side of the Divas that'll be there to cut them off if they approach too eagerly. 20 Boink gathering up on this upper ledge here, trying to exchange some damage from a distance. But this positioning in the server room, it's really, like I've been saying, gonna have to force them to expose themselves.
Just a little under 3 minutes though now, right now, and as we can see, you know, 20 Boink, they're trying to go in from the high ground, seeing what they can get. They try to go ahead and take the fight into the server room, but Jesus is gonna take out Blank before he can even get into the fight yet again, which leaves them down 5-0, or rather 5-6, and that's gonna be Failure and Kapoww taking out 2, however, as well as Disaster, saying it does not matter, they have what they need, and so far they're able to move that payload with supreme timing right now. 2.5 minutes remaining, and right now it looks like they are in fact gonna get this very second checkpoint to even things up. 2.5 minutes remaining, but right now Cat is gonna go out with the Tranquility to give a last gasp of breath right now for D.Va 1 Bad Guy 0. They're gonna be powering in. Vero is gonna get a kill. Connorj and Jesus each getting their own frag, and just like that, they're actually gonna reset this. What looked to be just a clear second checkpoint being captured is in fact once again gonna be a very frustrating D.Va 1 Bad Guy, or rather 20 Boink, getting forced back as Jesus secures a triple kill. This has got to be quite frustrating right now for 20 Boink that they can't seem to just cap this point, because even if they capture it now, they're going to have less time than they would like to go through that hangar phase.
Yeah, and 20 Boink, you know, they approached from the best angle they could have, and they would have caught out a lot of people, but there really weren't too many members of the Divas inside the server room, and so although they were able to clear it, the respawns weren't as succinct as enough. Here comes the Graviton Surge. It's going to catch out the majority of the red team, but nobody really oh, there, Jesus picks up 2 off of it. Here comes Disaster. He's going to pick up 1 as well. Drops the Transcendence, going to try and keep the rest of the team alive, and he's going to succeed to do so as Failure back on the Reinhardt, whipping his way through into this second checkpoint here. The door is going to open up, even though the battle does not end on this second checkpoint. Failure still charging away. Disaster picks up a kill onto Vero. And now it does look like the Divas are going to start backing up. They need to regroup and start preparing to defend this third checkpoint here.
They do, and already as we're recognizing familiar sights right now when playing in the hangar phase, you want to immediately get the high ground. 20 Boink immediately not wasting any time as Boink and Kapoww immediately start moving in up on the hangar right now. Kapoww securing a kill off of Connorj, and then here comes the Death Blossom, but gets immediately shafted by Jesus. Jesus not really allowing them to really get any kind of high ground damage as the Torment Suck goes out, and they do in fact are able to take out the rest of 20 Boink, and they're able to reset this at a pretty timely fate right now. 2 kills are being had though, however, from Failure and Blank, and they try to get out even more, but it is going to simply force them to bleed dry, and just like that, 20 Boink is going to have to regroup. What we saw there was a lot of spread out fighting. I believe they tried to get themselves in for a flank, but it really wasn't the best setup for them at the time.
Yeah, YZX did manage to get a pretty focused Graviton Surge and take out 2 of the supports, and if they hadn't done that, I think that they may have been able to join up with Failure and actually help him clear off the rest of the defenders. But with the supports down, they weren't able to do that. Vero's going to charge Failure into the wall, but he's very much alone here. But Jesus going to pick up a double kill. Connorj coming in to take out Boink as well, and another succinct team wipe coming up for the Divas, and with plenty of ultimates to spare.
Plenty of ultimates, and by plenty I mean it is an even right now. 4v, actually no it is not, it is 4 ultimates right now on the side of D.Va 1 Bad Guy 0. An entire 6-man ult is ready as we go on at 1 minute and a half remaining. Here we have it. Blank is setting up the Deadeye, trying to get whatever he can, but Connorj with the elimination, the deflective kill, which takes out Blank with his own Deadeye, and Vero is going to move in, taking out Boink as they remove the front line defense right now, as Failure is the only one remaining of 20 Boink to get anything done, but Jesus and Connorj are going to continue it. Jesus with the double as Connorj activates, and what do you know right there, 6 ults against 4, and with 1 remaining from Vero, they actually force 20 Boink into 1 ultimate, and they still hold the point. Less than a minute remaining as we move on to just almost 35 seconds left. This is going to be the last gas of 20 Boink, and they don't have much gas left in the tank.
Yeah, this isn't an ideal setup for 20 Boink. Boink having to switch on to Vero. He doesn't have much time to charge up that ultimate. Kapoww only going to pick up 1 with the Death Blossom there before getting taken out. This is the last and final push they have. Blank getting a good flank on, however, with the Tracer pick, managing to pick up kill after kill. Connorj picks up Vero, but Blank is still wreaking havoc with that Orb of Harmony on his back. Manages to chase down YZX, and they're approaching the checkpoint. They're going to push it into overtime, but can they make it back in time to contest? It doesn't look like Oh, there they go. Not waiting a second. As soon as it gets close to the checkpoint, they are going to charge in. Jesus takes out Failure. Connorj takes out Disaster. Death Blossom comes in from Jesus, and Connorj go huge with a quad kill coming out from Connorj. Jesus picking up a few kills of his own. It's very, very decisive collapse towards the end here, and that will leave 20Boink with just 2 points here on Watch Point Gibraltar.
And that is, in fact, going to put Divas on the match point. If they can win this very next offense, they will, in fact, be your champs. And this is my favorite type arms race. This is my favorite time of finals. You have the team. It is the clinchers. This is where we start to see that mental and physical fatigue of those teams start to get together right now. This is where we have to see 20Boink make their comeback. It has to happen. Their backs are now on the wall, and it is now do or die for the team. And this is where I like to see whether or not they're able to burn and turn into a really nice, real heart of gold when it comes to this, or are they going to burn, turn to coal, and turn into dust? It is really a matter of how these teams operate under pressure, and we're going to see that happen now from 20Boink as well as from D.VA Bad Guys 0. Can they close it out, or do they give just that little hole, that access and wiggle room, enough for 20Boink to really burst on through and to get what they need to keep this series alive? And it looks like right now we're going to have a generalizing same team, but Jesus, however, seems to be having moved over to Tracer now instead of the Reaper as they start to switch on for the offense.
Yeah, you know, Blank kind of styled on them towards the end there when he was on Tracer. Maybe Jesus has kind of seen the benefits of having a Tracer there to clean up at the end and wants to try his hand at it himself. You know, it does spell one thing in particular. It spells really rapid aggression. Genji and Tracer, really hard offensive heroes to keep tabs on. And, you know, if they manage to get to the back line and they're running all over the place, they can be difficult to lock down. And that's certainly what the Divas are hoping to do here on this attack.
So very fast-paced, very high flanking action going in right now, coming from D.VA Bad Guy 0, as they are the team looking to close it out. It is match point for D.VA Bad Guy 0, with 20Boink being against the wall. Already, Jesus and Connorj moving in, trying to get control of the high ground, telling Kapoww and Boink to get out of there. But it is, however, going to force Jesus to have to poke over the time warp, and of course make his way back down to his team right now. Both teams are really posturing. They do, of course, as usual, give up the first point, 5.5 minutes, as they try to bring the fight to the server room with Boink and Kapoww, as well as 20Boink, holding the high ground.
Now it looks like 20Boink actually starting to collapse on this payload here. They're actually going to start forcing the Divas back outside of the tunnel, which is going to earn them a decent amount of time here, a little bit of wiggle room, as the Divas are going to need to regroup. Pretty interesting, you know, that the tunnel's usually something teams want to stay away from. I wouldn't have been surprised at all to see the Divas turn things back around onto 20Boink once they had adopted that position, but they do make their approach now, exchanging damage through the barriers, but Boink jumps in from behind, going to try and deal some damage from an unsuspected angle here. Failure misses on the charge. Both Reinhardts kind of flailing at each other in the back here. Kapoww does manage to take out Vero though. Disaster takes out Connorj, and that's a 2-kill advantage for 20Boink, and they're going to try and take this momentum all the way, chasing the Divas all the way back past this first checkpoint. Jesus does manage to take out Boink in the chaos, but overall this is certainly a one-team fight for 20Boink.
Definitely, and what we saw there was just a whole lot of chaos of both Reinhardts charging and kind of giving a cue to their teams, especially from D.VA Bad Guy 0. When you charge in like that, that's a cue for your team to go in. But when you have a missed charge like that, it isn't going to really benefit when the rest of your team goes in. But this one was a lot more successful, as Vero does in fact go in with the charge, but doesn't get enough team effort from his team, as there's not a whole lot of follow-up, and he does get in fact discorded and taken down. The rest of Failure actually going after the rest of the team, as 20Boink actually starts to secure the payload once again. 3.5 minutes starting to fall down on the clock right now as they start to regain the high ground, and just like that, we're getting a forced D.VA Bad Guy 0 to have to regroup yet again, as they sit pretty with 4 ultimates, 20Boink to the 2 that D.VA Bad Guy 0 have, and not really a whole lot to really suffice for a very powerful offense if you're talking in terms of burst spearheading offense, which is what they've tried now twice in a row.
Yeah, the D.Vas definitely prefer to get a pick before going in without this many ultimates, but instead they do go for a spearheaded team push. Jesus does get a pick onto Blank, and that may be the cue for this team fight to begin. Dragonblade comes out, but Boink manages to take out Connorj. Primal Rage going wild as Failure's Earthshatter doesn't pick up anyone. YZX does manage to take out Failure. Vero takes out Disaster, and that's a numbers advantage here for the D.Vas as they start to approach this second checkpoint. They're still being contested, though. They do manage to take out Boink, however, and that will earn them this second checkpoint.
4 minutes, 40 seconds. That is the amount of time that D.Va 1 Bad Guy 0 have to get themselves to that next checkpoint, but they aren't going to give any time to spare, not even waiting for the door to open. They're going to break themselves in. Connorj with the kill off on Failure. Blank activating the Deadeye in desperation, but gets absolutely nothing for it, and it's definitely going to cost him. That's half. And just like that, the rest of the team moving back to the payload, showing that we're not going to forget about it, and that's really great to keep in mind. A lot of teams can get very excited and can get really powerful going into that push, but completely forget the payload to get moved, and that could really undo a whole lot of your offensive push. But luckily, they do remember to keep it up. Connorj gonna continue to keep moving. They do not, of course, have to go all the way. They just have to make it halfway to this point, and they look to seal the deal, getting Nmly trapped in as the sound barrier is in fact able to get most of the team, but Jesus and Connorj are gonna get their equal bits. 20 Blink is in fact gonna get some frags off as Kapoww gets the double kill. Boink is in fact looking to take up and clean up the rest of what they can get of 2 D.Va, and it is in fact gonna work. Nmly able to get the last hit off on Jesus, and just like that, they sewed on. They hang on by just a thread. But they do need to understand they have but just a few meters of life. If they allow for D.Va 1 Bad Guy 0 to move into it, this game is over.
Yeah, the D.Va's suffering from a severe lack of focus there on that push. Just too many individual targets. But here comes the second engage. Earthshatter puts down 2. Failure manages to pick up Jesus. Blank picks up Connorj. Massive numbers advantage now on the side of 20 Boink. They're going to start forcing the attackers back one more time. Kapoww chasing forward. Boink as well, going to get that damage through the Reinhardt shield as Vero's forced back to back all the way to their spawn. Pretty resounding past couple team fights. There's still a little bit of time to work with, though, and the D.Vas may be able to find that window they're looking for within the time left.
This right here is unrelented passion right now as Connorj is going in. Jesus immediately getting the double kill. Connorj is going to take out Failure, and they move in, not allowing for any kind of regrouping to happen. They are spreading them out. Boink is the one man who's supposed to cause some discombobulating and spreading out, but they're not going to allow them. D.Va 1, Bad Guy 0, they're moving in. Nmly desperate to try to hold on to that point, but it's not going to do enough as they are completely decapitated. Failure jumping to the point. They try to hold it. One swing, but it is futile. D.Va 1, Bad Guy 0 take the series as your cow. Competitive Overwatch Open Champions number 10 go to D.Va 1, Bad Guy 0, and the play of this match definitely goes to the Golden Gun man himself, Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus definitely picking up the necessary kills onto the tanks towards the end here. That Death Blossom, so crucial. Yeah, really impressive play coming out from the D.Vas. They did a great job of regrouping, even after faltering a few times on their pushes. Oh, yeah. And yeah, they definitely showed that they are the ones, and the bad guys have 0, King.
And there you have it, D.Va 1 Bad Guy 0, all your champions. I want to thank everybody for having come out tonight. My name is That's Gotta Be Kane, and I have been casting along with Arms Race. I want you to remember that no matter the circumstance, you always keep it saucy.
Arms Race, that. Arms Race, that was just absolutely amazing.
All right, Matrin has been taken over by some Omnics, and they've taken over his microphone, so we can't really trust anything that he has to say quite yet. But yeah, just to break down that competition a little bit more, you know, it was interesting to see Watchpoint Gibraltar not taken all the way to the end, you know, especially after we saw a couple of the previous maps go to King of the Hill. Obviously, 20 Boink would have hoped to have gone to King of the Hill themselves, and it's got to be a little defeating to know that there is not that second chance once the teams don't make it to the end in the first round. There's no way that you can get to that tiebreaker. You know, so that really does put the pressure on, and it's interesting to see how the teams perform in that instance. All right, Matron, let's see.
Can I talk?
No. All right. Well, that's going to be it for us today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate all your support. Once again, some shout outs to our sponsors, Matcherino for bringing a prize pool to these competitive players, Random CS for helping us organize the events, Discord for providing us with a platform for us to organize with all you awesome competitive Overwatch players out there, and of course, Master Overwatch for helping us keep tabs on all our Overwatch stats and trends. I am Arms Race. You can find me on Twitter, you can find me on YouTube, you can find me on Twitch. And this has been Matron. He has been taken over by a robot now, but he thanks you for watching, and he will be released from his Omnic captor soon. Thanks for watching, and have a good night.